The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Vans. Season 7 of FNRad is sponsored by Wired Snowboards, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop, Anon Optics, Time Bomb Trading, the Canadian distributor of Stance, Dragon, 32, and much more, and Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC. Tribute Board Shop is located on Canada's famous Powder Highway and is the perfect place to get everything you need to go snowboarding. Mark and Shane host the Tribute Lounge on YouTube, reviewing snowboarding equipment and sharing their expert knowledge with the world. Subscribe today. Tribute offers a curated selection of snowboarding equipment, and they also offer rental boards and split boards, including skins, probes, shovels, and packs, as well as offering snowboard tune-ups and repairs featuring eco-friendly wax, diamond stone edging, base and sidewall repairs, all done by hand. Visit Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC, or buy online from tributeboardshop.ca. Chad Otterstrom has done a lot in his 27-year snowboarding career, and he continues to inspire snowboarders around the world with his skills, dedication, and amazing style on a snowboard. He gets more days in than anyone, and his enthusiasm is infectious. He's one of the hosts of Real Talk from the Snowboard Project and one of the owners at Academy Snowboards. Hanging with Chad in Breckenridge, Colorado is one of the highlights of doing the FNRad Snowboard Podcast I'll always remember. Here's my conversation with the ultimate snowboarder, legend Chad Otterstrom.
The corkscrew to me was crazy because I didn't know you could do a trick without going completely upside down. For some reason, I just had that in my mind as like an 8th or 9th grader. Was like you either flipping or you're flipping and spinning, but to do a trick and get back to your feet without going completely upside down made no sense to me. So that was insane when I saw that for the first time. I think that was in the Transworld video mag. He did a back 7 cork off a cornice. He might have done a switchback 5 cork in that as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing, they called it a misty flip.
Yeah, it was misty flip. And then it was misty flip on Ali Goulet's, like he had a sequence in a magazine.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's all kind of like kooky now to talk about who did the first thing, but it's
no way, no.
But I think it's awesome.
I was talking.
I'm a super nerd.
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, it's not kooky but nerdy because I'm that guy. Yeah. I've been that from the beginning because like I grew up in Minnesota. That's all I had was like these little tricks you could do off stuff. So it's fun to follow that. But then there's Ali Goulet, and then I think his buddy, whose name was Jason King or something, claims he did it 3 years before Ali did it.
Yeah.
So it was him. So I kind of give Ali's buddy credit. I always talk shit. I'm like, yeah, Ali's buddy did it first.
Yeah, that's perfect.
But then, then Peter has the story of him and Jason Brown trying to make twist-off jumps at Brighton or something.
Oh, right.
That's how that one rolls. But anyways, Jason Brown was an awesome snowboarder. Could have done that at the same time, but we were all kind of trying to make twist-off jumps or had the idea in our head. I mean, I just, once it happened, I was never somebody that innovated or did anything. I just copied people's tricks. When I saw Peter Line do those, or when I saw these people do them on the videos at the local shop, Al John's in Minnesota, I'd go straight to Wild Mountain and find the biggest kicker I could find, which would send me like 5 feet and try him. But Peter definitely was the innovator, not just in snowboarding. Like I rode for Foursquare for a few years too, and it always seemed like every time we get new outerwear, it was pretty awesome. And, and you'd always watch Mac Dog movies, and he was the guy for like 5 years that you're like, what tricks are Peter going to do this year that no one's ever seen in a movie? And he would do it every year for like 5 years. Yeah,
remember the butter year? Yeah. That was rad.
Yeah.
I remember being like, this is just...
Butter switchback sevs and stuff.
Yeah, I can't even believe... Like, I'm not imaginative. I can't, like, once I see something, then I can understand it. You know what I mean? Like that misty flip, once I saw it, I was like, oh, this is big. Yeah. This is the next direction.
That's when, that's when things changed, because it wasn't just flat spins and backflips. It was like, all of a sudden, the whole new world opened up. And then, I mean, you could go on with him and other people, but it's like, the butter thing too, though, for me, I remember Aaron Vincent doing a nose butter 270 in Alaska.
Rad.
In like a TV movie, I believe. Yeah. It's like TV3 or something.
Yeah, which would have been before that.
Yeah, because I had to call somebody out recently. They're like, oh, somebody's butter. I was like, they were trying to give Travis Parker credit. And I'm like, no, I think AV did that before, but whatever. That's a fun game. I love talking tricks. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting that when I was talking to Cicerelli, he's got the knowledge of, the next generation. Like the first guy to do a double cork. Yeah. I think he gave that one to Robot Food guy, who I really love.
Well, there's David Benedict. Yeah. David Benedict did front 10 like double cork in the pipe. Yeah. And it was semi-corked. Yeah. But there's also Kim Christensen, who did a double Hawken flip, and that was called the Viking flip, which was before David Benedict.
Yeah.
And
let's not forget Michael Chuck.
If you want to, Michael Chuck, but it was definitely Michael Chuck. You can give him the credit because it was off his heels on the backside wall, which is scary as fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
But I always kind of never really gave credit to any sort of a double backflip.
Right.
As a double, I was like, cool. Like I think
Snowboarders
Morgan
in exile,
or Jim Rippey were doing double backflips.
Yeah, like in the pipe you're talking about.
But but if Michael Chuck doing that off his heels, was dangerous. So you're like, it's a credible double, but it's still a double backflip.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a double cork, but I have a couple stories. The first attempt of ever one was in 1998. My buddy John Shirky, we were up at Loveland Pass, near Loveland Pass. We're sitting there. He's like, I got this new trick. I've been spraying about it at the bar, but no one's seen it yet.
Nice.
He does a back double 9 and lands on his feet. This was 98 in like March.
Whoa.
And lands on his feet fakie. And then tomahawks a couple times, doesn't land it. We go back the next day. I have footage of the next day. He goes back double 9 like method, newt grab or whatever.
Yeah.
And over rotates and lands on his face and knocks himself out.
Oh my God.
And then that was the end of it. But that was the first attempt of a double cork I ever saw. And then Giggy did a front 10 maybe at in Brighton on a jump going up, not Brighton, but going up like Flagstaff, Grizzly Gulch area.
Yeah.
In the Whitey movie.
Yeah.
That was like 99. But JP likes to get a lot of credit for that front 9 double.
That's a famous one.
He did that in Logan.
Yeah.
In Utah. And that was one of the first clean ones, I think, off of a backcountry jump.
Yeah, they almost didn't get it.
Yeah. Andy missed the photo. They got video, but the photo was like questionable. That's what Andy was saying.
Right.
And the next year, Travis Rice, front 10 double. But I always kind of like to go back to where we started with the corkscrew and what it's going to now, which is kind of annoying. It's like you're not inventing a new trick by doing more flips and spins. You're just extending that trick. So, there's the basic 540. When you take the 540 to a 720, you're not inventing a new trick. You're just adding a 180 to that back rodeo 5. So technically, it's not a new trick. You're just doing more spins and flips, which all the Olympians need to.
Which is like an NBD thing versus inventing a new trick.
Exactly. Yeah. Where Peter was kind of on the tip of inventing new tricks, where like when he did the back rodeo 5.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Okay. So that back rodeo 5.
Pleasure.
And that was it was like in a resort or something off of like
I know.
Side.
But that happened, and Engelsman had done a kind of a heel hook back rodeo 7, but it was a little forward. And Canadians were like, we've been doing that for our whole lives. Like that's called a 90 roll. But 90 roll is like you hook 90 and then do backflips. So Peter actually made it look good.
Yes.
And so you kind of give him credit for that. But then I've talked to Peter about it, and he said he got the idea from Terrier and Subject Hawkinson. And you see Terrier kind of do a backflip back 180.
Yes.
And then that's kind of where Peter actually put a cork on it. Or maybe that he's just naturally that good and he can do that. I don't know. But
it's an interesting point in snowboarding because up to that point, everything is kind of borrowed from skateboarding or has already been done, right? Yeah. Like I'm sure they could do them now, and maybe they are, but like, launch ramp days, you didn't see somebody go do a cork 5.
No, but it's like those are the pioneering progressive days of snowboarding.
Yep.
And it went through that with skateboarding way before with like Rodney Mullen and, I'm sure like Eric Costin has millions of things, but
yeah, and
Rodney
dead ends, like
Rodney
pressure flips and shit.
Stuff, like they were inventing what you can do on your skateboard, and then now they're just like doing it with more style off bigger things and on different features, but it's still the same thing in a way. If you watch a skateboard movie now, you're like, you watch a snowboard movie now, you're not really doing anything new that they didn't do 20 years ago. It's just like a little film different or done different, but the tricks are all the same. Yeah,
even the sizes have got smaller a little bit.
Yeah, definitely compared to like Whiskey 3 and the Switchback 1 Devin did. Like they haven't really gotten much bigger than that. But
but I mean, and that happened before too with like Damien did some big cliff drops. I don't think there's ever been a like the cliff era just went
No.
away, right?
Well, and those dudes are crazy. Like even Farmer, like they'd ride 180s, and they're not doing any tricks, guaranteed.
Yeah,
because they're gonna barely get that 360 around, but they're stomping like 40-foot cliffs, like stomping
real 40-foot cliffs,
and there's no landing.
That Steve Graham snipe in Snowboarders in Exile, where he lands it. He lands it. I mean, it's a body drag, maybe, I can't remember. But it's a big ass cliff. Like it's. I mean,
it's also like refined particular snowboarding has kind of come into play a lot too, and then street snowboarding. Where it's a little more technical than it is big. And it's not, I mean, if I'm going to go big, I want to have it to be 4 feet deep in the landing. I'm not trying to go big and feel my legs when I land. But,
well, when I went back and watched a couple of your parts, I was like, you were consistently hitting that furthest landing. You know what I mean? Like on a jump that had been hit 30 times. Your landed trick was, past the furthest landing.
I hope so. I mean, not super far, but you never, the Clancy always said, never, don't short track it.
Right.
You don't want, if you could hit a jump first and you put a short track landing in it, you just ruin the day for everybody. The photographer's like, great. Now I have no more photos. Jump's going to look like shit.
Right.
So the first person to go, you kind of got to punt. But I didn't really start riding big backcountry jumps till like a couple of years after I was a pro snowboarder.
Really?
And then, it was just like, living in Colorado was really hard to find and make happen. I just kind of was like,
What's the scene like here? Like, when did you move to Colorado?
I moved here in November of 95.
Okay.
I moved here with my buddy Matt Swanson, who was just out here last week. His girlfriend Kelly, his kid Francis, and so their kid Dana lived with us for a little bit. But we all moved out here from Minnesota straight out of high school.
Oh, fuck.
But,
so is that post Peter Line doing these things in that Transworld video? What year was that Transworld
he did
video?
it.
94?
So I knew Peter in 11th grade. That came out in 11th grade. 10th grade, actually.
Oh, wow.
I was in 10th grade, so it was like 93 or something, 93.
Okay, that makes sense.
94. And so we watched all that stuff, and then my buddy Marty, Jake Weber, and I went to Mount Hood. I'd already been there for 2 years, and I convinced my friends to come out. And
what year was that?
That was the summer of 93, 94.
So your first year
No, it was
there
the summer of 93.
Yeah, so your first summer there was 91?
92. Well, no. 91, 92, 93. No, it was 94 that we went out there. Yeah. So 94, the summer of 94. So 92 I went out, and that was, and then 93 and then 94. And that was the year that Up in the Ante had came out.
Yeah.
And that was the Transworld Video Mag came out too, I believe.
Yeah.
Here Peter wrote that Division 23. But anyways, to quit rambling, summer of 94, my 3 buddies and I went out, and we showed up, and it was like Peter Line, Blaze. These guys were just like coaches at the camp.
Rad.
And we're like, Peter's still kind of quirky, and freaking like the dude that was like, in the videos, we're like, holy shit, those are the dudes that are at the local shop video. And we all wanted Peter as our coach, but we got Blaze.
Yeah.
And we're like, fuck, we got Blaze. That guy just does like 540s and whatever. But he's been my best friend for like the last 30 years anyways. But he was still really good. And he's still
540s right now.
He's kind of holding strong as the best 47-year-old snowboarder
100%.
in the world.
Yeah, man.
If not top 3.
Yeah.
Definitely top for style, hands down.
Yeah, man.
So, but he, not that we thought Blaze sucked, but it was him or Peter, and we're like, Peter's the fucking crazy snowboarder guy. And,
he had that quirky.
But anyways, like that whole camp was so small. It was like 20 of us and 4 coaches, so we were all a gang. Anyways, everybody hung out.
Rad.
And so we watched the corkscrews all go down and all that type of stuff. And then obviously, I think that some year before, I think TB3 had come out. If you ever watched TB3, it was when Standard and Mac Dog were the same production company.
Yep.
And Peter had like intro on that movie, and it was like not even real. Like you said, stuff has gotten smaller. If you watch his part in TB3, it holds up today.
That's nuts.
Down.
That's nuts.
And I mean, even a Terrier part too. So, anyways, so that was going on, and then we moved out. Yeah, then we all moved out here, and I kind of lost touch with everybody. Peter actually had called me to ask me to ride for Division 23
Sick.
in high school. And I was like, I had just signed a contract with Kingpin for like nothing. And they're like, I call them up. I'm like, yo, I got to quit. This dude just called me now. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to let you do that. I'm just like, even though looking back now, I could have totally done it. Just been like, whatever, bros.
Yeah, you didn't have a contract or anything.
I did.
Oh, you did.
I could have been like, call a lawyer, ask me if I care.
Yeah.
And, you learn in the long run that if somebody really wants to get after you, they'll come after you, but they wouldn't have come after me,
What boards were Kingpin making? They were called Kingpin boards?
Yeah, we made them in northern Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I also didn't want to quit too, because my friend Marty had got me on the team, and he was my good friend back from Minnesota, so I didn't want to like quit my team.
Yeah.
And then I think I even lost Peter's number. I didn't even know I had it, so I couldn't even call him back to be like, "Yo, I can't do this." And I just like didn't even keep contact with him. And I remember seeing him at the US Open, and I was a super introverted kid, so I didn't even go say what up. I was just like, I blew it. I suck. And I wasn't really riding that good anyway, so I was like, I wasn't on the level.
Wow.
And then I went to Hood. So I lived here. So we all moved here. But then to continue that story, just to end it and quickly end it.
Yeah, man.
I went to Hood and I became a digger, and I dug my ass off for 8 hours a day for 3 years straight. And Peter is obviously in Seattle. He come down and shred. And then he was just like, "What up, man? How you been?" And then he put me on Foursquare. And then
that's epic.
And then they wanted me on Forum, but I was on M3. So I went the same thing as I did with Kingpin. I'm like, yo, I can't quit with my bro Blaze is my homie. I'm just going to keep more eggs in the basket.
Yep.
And in the long run, that was good, but whatever.
They wanted you for Forum when? Like Forum 8?
Right after Technical Difficulties came out.
Yeah.
And Revival.
Oh, wow.
So I'd already been on M3 for a year, and then we were blowing up, and they were like trying to swoop me in. I was like, I can't quit. I got to stay with M3.
When did Burton try and swoop you?
They didn't swoop me. They didn't try to swoop me. They had an offer. It was between Silence, when Silence had gone out of business, and Blaze was kind of being the mastermind between starting M3.
Yeah.
That summer at Hood, and Vince and Maddie, JG and Maddie Swanson were running the Burton house there.
Rad.
The summer of '98, I believe.
Yeah.
At Hood, and I think Vince might have been there, and they're like, "Yeah, we could do something. You got to do head to toe." And I'm like, "I'm not quitting." And this was when Silence was done. M3 was on the edge of starting.
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm not going to go head to toe." I was like, "I can't quit Foursquare."
Right.
Like, freaking, like that's just like not what I would do. So.
What board did you ride? They give you a board?
Yeah, I rode the Burton Balance. It was the one Terrier rode, and it was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah.
I have a couple shots in the movie Decade.
Yeah.
I do a back Michael Chuck pipe.
Yeah.
It was like, there was probably 5 people doing Michael Chucks. I'm not claiming or anything, but because all I did was bite everybody else's tricks. I was never innovative. I would just like see somebody do a trick and I'd be like, I want to learn that.
Yeah.
And that was like the fun part for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would like take your brain off of life. It's like you watch snowboard movies and you look at all the tricks and you're like, I want to go learn those. And then living in Breckenridge, like I said, I moved here in '95 with my friends. I had a perfect job. I worked at the gas station on the road, 2 to midnight, 3 days a week. So I got 30 hours of work a week. I paid $180 a month in rent, and I lived across the street from the snowboard park, who my friend Kurt kind of like, made. Well, didn't kind of. He basically put this place on the map, honestly. And so he, they had the jump called the Wu-Tang. It was like the original jump called the Wu-Tang on Peak 9.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, anyways, maybe there's a buff in Canada that had a Wu-Tang too. But anyways, and it was easy to just go to the park and try all these tricks off 30-foot jump safely,
Yeah.
Had the park been like it was 5 years ago, when you could go up there and hit a 90-foot park jump any given day of the week, I probably would have injured myself and died.
Yeah.
But we were lucky enough to have like takeoffs and landings that were like 30 feet. And I mean, I kind of tried to stay away from the partying. Like all my roommates and friends were all partying.
Yeah.
And I got in and out of that, and they got in and out of that too. I'm still friends with them all, and we're still kind of all in the same program. But that was always a struggle living in a resort party town, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
To like leverage hey, my snowboarding's not really making it. I get 2 snowboards a year and one of them's basically broken. And I'm working at a gas station. Your mom's calling you, telling you to go to college. You're like, what am I doing with my life? And what changed that was obviously going to Hood and just putting in the work to get your fundamentals down and learning how to ride half pipe really good. Because half pipe, Pat Melendowski. Well, the first summer I went, I worked with Frank Wells, and we dug a real half pipe. We dug like an 18-foot half pipe by hand.
Wow.
Like straight up dug 2 square walls.
Yep.
And then you chiseled those out, and it was a 2-day build, 1 wall a day. But so that was where I got the skills. But the first year I lived here was definitely like when I went to the Open. I mean, I ended up winning nationals that year at Mount Snow, but I went to the Open and I ended up making it into the event. But it was the year that Jimmy Scott won, and Terry hiked back up and did that McTwist because he screwed up his run.
Yeah.
And I wasn't on the level. Like, I think it was because I had a shitty board too with bad edges that my board wouldn't even work in the half pipe. But
what board was it?
it was a Kingpin. Like I literally built it myself. I built it by hand myself. So it was like not a good snowboard, but I knew in my mind, like that's why I was always super introverted. I wouldn't be like, hey, what up, Peter? What up, guys? I was like, dude, I'm not there yet.
I forgot you told me about working at Kingpin and that there was some sort of deal that you had cooked up where you could work the system and make a bunch of cash. Like, I don't know, like building more boards or something.
That you heard that from Mikey LeBlanc at Solid.
Oh, okay. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Mikey hustled the deal making boards at Solid where he made so many boards, he was able to make a bunch of money. And it was all legit. And then once they found out. Kingpin, I made like freaking $6 an hour. And I did it after high school because I rode for them. Yeah. And they're like, come up to Two Harbors. This dude, Doran, Nermy, Roger, and this dude, Arden. Roger Walsberg, Arden Towers. And those are the 3 dudes we knew. And they were like OG Tahoe dudes. Like they lived with Sione and Johnny B and in the 80s. And they literally drove, like Arden drove his motorcycle back from Tahoe to Minnesota, hit a snowstorm and like made it. But like those guys were like 80s. And then they came back and started a snowboard brand in northern Minnesota. So I'd go build those, and I learned how to I learned the basics. I was the wood core guy, so I'd profile all the wood cores and put the inserts in and then you glue them and, fiberglass and top sheet and base and edges. And it's very basic to make a basic snowboard, but it's all about materials and quality of materials. Yep. In my opinion, like you can have the best shaped snowboard, but if the materials aren't right, it's not going to ride good. Oh, absolutely. There's all kinds of different things that go into it. And but anyways, so I learned a bit about that, and I didn't make any money. I would have done way better had I kept my job at Target. But it was a good experience. I got to move out there with my new roommate that I was moving out here with. Yeah. So we got to hash out our problems before we actually moved out here.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You know what I mean? Instead of coming out here and then all of a sudden you're fist fighting your roommate.
Yeah, that happened to me, man.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. So so that first year out here was pretty wild,
What year are you here?
95, 96. Yeah. And
was there a half pipe that you could hike at night that was lit up?
No, we had one at Breck, and that was it opened up like late January. Yeah. And it was awesome. It was great. And Park opened up late January, February, Yeah. Till then, you're kind of cruising. But that year, that's kind of what hooked me on Colorado. That year in January, it snowed like 15 inches every single day. Oh, damn. Like, it was insane. Like, there was cars buried all over Breckenridge. Yeah. And, like, literally, it was when you'd watch your snow report on the TV, you'd have to, like, watch the local, you know, late at 8. Yeah. 12 inches at Breckenridge, 13 at Keystone. And then... And, that year, and then I had a good group of friends like Kurt and a couple other dudes. Like Kurt had already made snowboard movies, like underground ones, and he was a snowboard nerd. Yeah. And from Minnesota, so we kind of, had mutual friends, and we had this gang called the VFR, Vail Fucking Rules. And he knew all the snowboard movies, so we'd go to Vail on any, most given POW days, probably like once every 2 weeks. And, all the Whitey movies were filmed there, like the Ingmar Substance part and all kinds of stuff like that. So he knew every hit at Vail. And you go down the hill, he'd tell you what's this and what's that. And it was awesome. Yeah, and, that's amazing. So I was pretty hooked on Colorado. And before then, I had already obviously come out here because it's pretty quick to come from Minnesota. But I was hooked on living here, even though I know in high school I wanted to move to Utah. because in the magazines and everywhere, like Utah was kind of going off as far as riding, and then Tahoe too. But it was just another 500 miles out there from Minnesota. So, and I had already have friends here, so I was like, let's just go here. It's safer.
Nice.
And then the Mac Dog movies had obviously been filmed here, so like it was like a rail, like a museum.
Yeah.
And they were all still set up all around the town. Like you could, even though I had one board, so I wasn't going to go ruin it. And I already gone through the first jibbing era.
Yeah.
So when I moved here, I wasn't about jibbing because jibbing was kind of fading off in '96, and you only had one board, so you weren't going to go ruin it.
Yeah.
But and like I said, I started jibbing in like 1991 in Minnesota. So we jibbed from '91 to '94, and then it faded off. So we're like, yeah, let's just not do that anymore.
Yeah, you're talking like jibbing, like
oh yeah, Minnesota, like
yeah,
like hitting street rails.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
So we did that. And then when we moved out here, it was like powder. I'm like, dude, I'm riding powder. This is the shit. You know, this is awesome. Like, we'd go to Vail Pass and go launching cliffs. We'd go to Lovin' Pass, Berthoud Pass, everywhere. And hiking all day long. Like, you'd come home and you could barely walk. I remember just freezing on the drive home from Vail sometimes. And because you didn't have good outerwear. But whatever, those are good times. That was the first year living in Colorado. I love it. It's like I'll never forget it. And then, yeah, like I said, then I went to Hood and came back, and then same kind of crew. We got another place, a couple different. My buddy Jake got me. Actually lived with us next year. And we'd have friends from Minnesota come out. And that next year, I actually hurt my ankle skating that fall after Hood, because I was kind of killing it. I was like, had a good summer. Went back and worked, and then I was like nollying like this 5-set in Minneapolis, and I rolled my ankle in like October, and I couldn't snowboard till like I could, but I couldn't comfortably snowboard till like February.
Oh shit.
So that next year, I was like, you know, coming off of winning a nationals, I was like telling my mom, I'm like, hey, I won nationals. I don't want to go to college. This shit sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm gonna go back to Colorado and try to see what happens. And it was an excuse to like try to make your parents proud.
Yeah.
And so then I rolled my ankle, couldn't start till February, and barely making rent, working delivering food. And then I rode for Silence that year because Blaze had hooked me up with Silence the summer before. I actually have a video of it. Going from Kingpin to Silence. I sent it to Blaze the other day, and he's like breaking my Kingpin board. And then he's trying to break it, and he's like, I don't know. I don't want to insult any other snowboard brands, but he was talking shit on some other brands about he needs one of these boards. But anyway, so then I rolled my ankle, and then that winter I didn't really even ride that good, even though I rode every day, because there just wasn't the opportunity. And then I tried to do like the amateur contest, and then went to nationals in Big Bear and totally got like 15th place, and I was like, shit, it's over. I'm failing. And,
wow.
And it not failing, but I was just like,
I know what you mean, though.
Like, just
yeah.
like, fuck, what's
it's
going
like
to happen?
I've lost the edge of competition, right?
And that was the next summer I went to Hood, and I went from working from Frank. He gave me another job, but then like that fell through the cracks because I didn't have a car and I couldn't like get to his camp. I was stuck in Gubby.
Yeah.
And then my buddy Kenyon offered me a job. So I couldn't even tell him. I didn't have a phone or nothing. I couldn't even tell him I wasn't accepting the job. I just didn't show up. And then Kenyon was like, because he was down in like Rhododendron or something.
Yeah.
And then Kenyon Salo Robinson, who's a good friend of mine too, who hired me to deliver food here. He's like, hey, you want to be a digger for High Cascade? And I was like, yeah, they got a pipe drag. And I'm like, I don't want to dig a half pipe.
Yeah.
You know, because they were like the first camp that had an actual pipe dragon.
Yeah, yeah.
That they didn't have pipe diggers. All we did was rake and salt. But it was still a workout because you're dragging salt bags up the hill all day long. And so I took that job, and that was the summer that I really just hammered it in, like every day, 8 hours a day, just nonstop shredding, learning every trick I could. And that was the same summer that Peter came up and was like, what up, bro? How you been? And Blaze was already there. I knew Blaze, you know, he had become my friend outside of that anyways. And yeah, and those were the first two. They were very instrumental years in my life, I guess. It was something like that.
Formative. Right.
Formative, yeah. And then after that, that was like it. No more working.
Really?
Well, not really. I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't want to go year to year because it's been 27 years.
Fuck, it's so many years, eh?
But those first 3 years were very formative because you had to work your ass off.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you had this path of how you're going to make it. Like I said, the second year, I'm like, man, I got to go to like a USASA contest. I'm living, in a bunk bed, trying to like make rent, delivering food.
Right.
That's not your average pro snowboarder in Summit County these days. These kids are pretty funded these days if they have
funded.
A chance.
Right. And it was a self-funded thing.
I had 10 T-shirts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and I'm proud of that in a way. You know what I mean?
Course.
My dad would give me like, I think he'd give me like $600 or $700 on a loan every once in a while.
On a loan.
And then he would be like, "What up? Where's that money?"
Yeah.
And it would be like within 2 months I'd have to pay it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was lucky to have that. And I was lucky to be able to go back to Minnesota and like go sleep in an extra room in my parents' house in the off season and work. Like they were cool with that. Like
that's really cool.
I had that support, which was awesome.
And
they supported it.
You still tight with them?
Yeah, for sure. My mom was texting me earlier. She was like, "What do you want for Christmas?" They're not giving me much, but she just likes doing that,
Yeah, that's sweet.
And, but yeah, that next summer, and then that was what happened that summer? Yeah, that summer worked out. No, I still worked that summer. I came back, got a job at Gourmet Cabbie, which is a food delivery place, and then went to X Games that year in Crested Butte.
Holy shit!
And that
was it the first X Games? No,
there was 2 years. There was like 2 years in Snow Summit.
Yeah.
And then they moved to Crested Butte. It was
the
first one in Crested Butte, and I did really good there. And I was riding for Silence, and then I think that was the year of the Olympics as well. And I legitimately, I'm not gonna brag or anything, but I had a switchback 7, I had a back 9, I had a front 7, a hawk and flip.
You had a run.
I had a run that would have won
won
the Olympics.
Yeah.
Which to say that nowadays is like insane.
Yeah.
You don't just say, "Oh, I have a front, 19 triple cork in the half pipe." No one says that shit, But like to be able to say that I had a run and my, people that I competed with would vouch for that.
Yeah.
I just was not consistent at all.
Oh,
I didn't
really?
really put it together. I couldn't really put one together, but I had all the tricks to go. So after that X Games, I think we all drove down there and somehow finagled our way. And my buddy Jake had just moved out here too, and we were kind of shredding together. And then I remember coming back from X Games, and Romy's like, "Here's my team manager, Romy."
Yeah.
Team manager of Silence, and then into M3. Awesome friend still. I don't see him very often anymore, but he's like, "Yo, you're going to be on the road for like a month and a half if you're going to go do this contest," because we had to go to Portland, go to the Bachelor qualifier, and then go to Mammoth, go to that qualifier, try to qualify for the Olympics. And I was like, I guess I got to quit my job.
Right.
So I call up Kenyon, and I'm like, "What up? I got to quit. I'm going to be gone for like a month and a half." And that was the last, I've obviously worked at Woodward, and I've worked at, hourly jobs where I punched in since then. But I didn't have a real job after that for a long time, because that's when snowboarding kind of kicked in, and I was able to make, enough. I went from 10 T-shirts to doing really good, and then back to like 10 T-shirt money, because it goes up and down quickly like nothing. And then, and then all of a sudden, if you just hang on, something will happen. If you stay in the industry and you're cool. But I've been hustling that game for the last 24, 25 years.
Right.
Up and down, and just, living the dream and going with it. And, I've been lucky enough to, be able to stay afloat.
Yeah, like you bought this place when it was an up time, and then that allows you to just stay through the down times, right?
Yeah, that's been a huge part is getting a condo and being able to kind of supplement my income through the rent I make.
Yeah, that's dope.
And that would just be enough to barely pay the bills.
Yeah,
and and then.
It's life money though, right? Like before social media blew up everything with hashtags and whatnot, it's like it was unspoken. You just get it. It's like you have experiences. People have money, and the only thing they can, people with a lot of money, usually the most creative thing they can do is make more money.
Yeah.
They're not they don't have a passion.
They don't have they're not rock bottom. Yeah, but I'm not rock bottom either. I grew up pretty middle class in Minnesota, and I had very supportive parents and a great family, so that helped out a lot too. But a rock bottom, like to be a competitive snowboarder today, like to be in a video is really hard to even make a living if you're in a video.
Right.
Back then, like a JP Walker didn't even have to touch contest. I remember being at X Games in Mount Snow, like 2001.
Yeah.
JP and Jeremy were there, and they're like, road practice, and they're like, we're out of here, dude. And they just left. You know what I mean? Like if a snowboarder, like a high-end pro snowboarder did that today, they're like, this shit's whack, dude. I'm out of here. And you're like, wow, that takes some balls.
Yeah.
But if they did that now, you'd be cut. They'd be like, yeah, we're done. Or they'd lose their energy drink sponsoring today. You know? Like now to be a competitive pro snowboarder, you have to, they're so competitive that they're doing a big air and steamboat right now with no snow. And they just got off hill in Switzerland and Austria.
Yeah.
From the month before in Switzerland, and then all summer long, and and then they were down in New Zealand, and well, probably not this year because of COVID, but it's like it's a year-round thing where they're constantly traveling just to hit this super kicker, and that just seems like the most depressing thing in the world. But some people are into it, and there's certain people that are very innovative, and like a Marcus Cleveland who is still kind of inventing axes on tricks, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, yeah.
And half pipe is really, really awesome because half pipe is a very dangerous discipline. And you have to be a really good snowboarder to do it, so that's still fun. But they're literally traveling year round to stay competitive.
Right.
In one discipline.
You know the very first people to do that?
Huh?
Craig and Tim.
Oh, really?
Tim Wendell, Craig Kelly. They went to camp over in Stubai.
Oh, really?
And then they came back and realized, oh shit, we got a leg up on everybody else.
Oh, wow.
So then the next year they did a camp at Blackcomb together, Tim and Craig.
Yeah.
Together at Blackcomb, like the two major camp guys.
That's a cool story.
Yeah. And then Tim moved the camp to Mount Hood, which is way better than Blackcomb, man.
That's an interesting story too.
Yeah.
Like how Wendell's happened then, through Craig and Tim doing that.
Yeah.
Having a leg up in the summer. But I mean, Craig also has a very rich history in free riding.
Oh, absolutely.
Where the kids, like I said, kids nowadays, it's like they're spending March and April riding half pipe in park.
Yeah.
It seems like. But not all of them, I should say, but
yeah, snowboarding isn't a thing anymore. Like it's not like some of these times when you're talking about, right? Like when I think about 95 at Mount Hood, the year that Daniel Frank was just like
Meltdown Project.
Yeah, Meltdown Project year. Yeah. Like everybody had to do the same thing. Up until that point, that was probably where it kind of ended, and it branched off, and people became more creative.
More like niche snowboarder. This is my discipline. This is what I do.
Yeah. You know, because there was
because Daniel Frank could have been easily seen as a slopestyle rider.
Sure.
But he ripped at half pipe. And
totally.
He went to the Olympics for half pipe.
Totally.
But like his style is very slope-styley.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
Compared to a Terrier. If you watch Subject Hawkinson, you're like, he's very switch stance, or Terrier's very forward.
There's a bunch of montages of snowboarding in the Dear Rider movie.
Oh, really?
And there's like,
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No.
Oh, you'll love it.
My cable's out. So
oh, really?
Yeah. Unless that out, I just don't want to set it up.
yeah.
Got YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's a lot of Daniel Frank shots in there, like tons.
Yeah.
And it reminded me how big of a personality in the scene he was.
Yeah.
He was huge.
Yeah.
He was absolutely huge. But yeah, like the years before that, people were. I remember that year or two of that poke late back 180. Remember, you try and keep it as poked as you can, and just bring it around as late as you possibly can.
Shifty late 180.
Shifty late 180.
Yeah, shifty is like being at Hood too was really cool. Like that was very, like there was a trick of the summer. I remember one. Yeah. It was like shifty late 180, late frontside 3.
Yep.
That was the trick of the summer. Like that was like what people did all summer long.
Yeah.
And then like the next summer there'd be like another trick, and that was like the cool trick to do all summer.
Totally.
And I'm sure it goes now. I don't know what Hood's like now, but I mean, I work at Woodward now, and that's still pretty fun. But I'm gonna try to go to Hood. But,
the last few times I went to Hood, it was like it's kind of more ski. Like the biggest park felt more ski.
Yeah.
And then the smaller, there's like medium
more
park
jibby
at a time.
Snowboarding.
Yeah, felt more snowboarding. But
like you don't really want to do more than 540s in Hood anyways.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure if there's not a powder landing, I'm not doing more than 540.
Yeah, it's not big progression there right now. It's just kind of like having fun.
Yeah.
It's like linking tricks at the right size for the right feature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to that progression.
The progression died because, like I said, it's not that way in Breck anymore. The I call it energy drink lane.
Sure.
Where there was a time, maybe 8-9 years ago here in Breck, that I could go up in any given day and and go 100 feet on a park jump.
That's fucked up.
At like 9:30 in the morning. Nobody around. I could just drop in 9:30 in the morning. And I was doing that. And that was like my energy. It was crazy. I'd go do double corks like 90 feet at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Without a filmer, with no incentives.
No. I remember the first one I tried in a park because I'd always done them in a POW. And I was like, I look up and my buddy Jake and Jeff are up there. And I was like, you guys good? Watch this. Because I was like, if anything happens, I want to have my friends above me.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't, if I like knock myself out, I don't want like other people dropping down on me. And I went and tossed and like landed the back 10 double. And I was like, all right, got it over with. But it was like that adrenaline rush, and you can put yourself up on the edge. But that was the pinnacle of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where Sean had like a freaking airbag up there with a jump next to it. Everything was closed down. They said no filming. My buddy Jeff Meyer was up there filming in the woods, selling the shit to TMZ. And like, it was like, that was the end. You know, like you don't want to go bigger than 100 feet. You don't want to go do more than a triple cork. Or anything. You don't want to, it's just, it turned snowboarding for me into motocross, and it didn't have that, I don't want to be negative or anything, like, but it was like, that was just the pinnacle. That was the max. Like going more than that, you can do it, but it's just like, why?
Right.
You know, it was cool to do a triple cork on a 100-foot park jump, but if you can't float a trick, you shouldn't be doing it. And I feel like I have yet to see anybody float more than a triple cork. So,
okay. Yeah. No.
if that makes sense.
It makes total sense.
Yeah,
it just
so I
feels
always told the kids I coach. I'm like,
frantic.
if you're not floating a trick, you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
Like you can float a back 10 double on a 50-foot park jump.
Yeah.
But if you're, if you're trying triples, like a lot of snowboarders will do, and it just whipping it, like I've yet to see a triple cork in the backcountry that didn't look out of control whipped.
Right.
So it still doesn't really count. And why are you doing that? But when I was a coach, that's what I always tell my kids. So that was the end of it. But like I was saying, back to the US Open, I think it kind of changed too, was when people started doing back-to-back sevens and linking tricks. Yeah. And then pipes weren't excavated. They were like, pipe dragging pipes, and it became more training, and everybody did all these, and the spins became more and more. They weren't necessarily doing new tricks. They were just doing more spins. What was cool, they were going bigger. Like if you watch Ross Powers in the 2002 Olympics, that method is going to, worth to be on anybody's wall in the world, at anybody's home. Like it was huge. And he just did McTwist and a couple 720s, and, he didn't really go crazy, and he won. Yeah. And then even at the Open, when it was an excavated pipe, it was like if you had amplitude, style, and then would poke 540s and stuff like that. Yeah. When Terrier was really shining. Yeah. That's when I thought it was really attainable and fun to watch. I still love watching it now, but I don't want to do it.
What size was that pipe?
You know what I mean? I don't want to go do that shit. I'm like, yeah. But I'll still watch a US Open contest from 98, and I'll be like, hell yeah, let's go ride some half pipe.
Totally. What size was the 98 pipe?
I think they were 12 feet.
Yeah, that's it. See, I've been saying it on the show a lot. I think a 12-foot pipe would be something that, say a Mark McMorris, he's not going to come in there and start doing triples. It just isn't going to happen. It physically can't. So then it's an equalizer.
And people that can't even ski. That's what I always tell Breck. And they're like, let's do a flow park. I'm like, screw the bowl flow park stuff. Yeah. That's fun for Holy Bowly. That's it. Yes. But I don't want to judge my speed on a bowl jump because I feel like I'm going to overshoot it. I like vert because I know when I go up it, I'm going to come down. Yep. And a vert ramp at 12 feet, even up to an 18-footer, you can have a snow plowing pizza kid that just learned how to ski. He can go and bank slalom that thing. Totally. All the way up to somebody doing 12-foot airs. Yep. So it goes from the pizza guy all the way to the snowboarder doing 12-foot airs. And I try, you can tell resorts that all day long, and they're like, yeah, we just care about rentals and cheeseburgers. Right. The problem is that a 22-foot pipe, you can't do that because the guys that are blasting need it to be clear.
Whereas
Yeah,
a
you
12-foot
can't- 12
pipe,
foot,
you
can't,
can
yeah.
you can kind
All the way to
of kind of
18.
work around a 12-foot pipe.
You
with-
can have fun
so-
doing a 4-foot air. Doing a 4-foot air and a 22-footer is scary.
Yeah. There you go. That's it.
But
That's been
but
my
it's but
crusade.
half pipe compared to even a park. I think
Yep.
park, like any person comes up and sees a 10-foot jump, they're scared.
Yep.
But if a snowplower sees a half pipe they can side slip through, they're going to side slip through it.
It's true, man.
So like, and even park and slow, I always, not to rant, but I'm a judge in snowboarding. So I see park snowboarding for jumps and I'm like, that's great and all, but half pipe's where it's at. Like anybody can go ahead and jump and go,
Yeah.
and clear it. But to like catch air out of a half pipe, that's an art form.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of my favorite times in snowboarding or riding, like a 12-foot pipe, maybe 14. 12 to 14 is just this like sweet spot that if it's cut perfect, and you can be like confident on,
and if
re-entry.
it's slushy on both walls
and
and
it's
it's
slushy.
fast.
Oh my God. I had that at Bachelor with my buddy Steve Harum. It was like one of the most fun times I've ever had in my life.
Just a perfect vert.
Yeah.
Like Frank Wells is the king of like making the perfect half pipe. Him and Pat's probably, pretty good, was good as well. They were both really awesome people to go ride half pipe with or talk to them about designing half pipe. I'll ride a half pipe, 22-foot half pipe any day of the week as long as Frank Wells cuts it.
Nice.
Otherwise, I could care less about riding it. Because you know, when you build those pipes, the middle part turns into kind of like a W.
Yeah.
And those guys, what they do is they dish it out perfectly, so you don't feel that. And you go into every wall with more speed, and they lay the pipe back so much that just the top goes to vert.
Rad.
So they do it good, but your average resort that has a 22-foot pipe and just some random dude that's going to cut it every day, you might as well just throw your money away.
Yeah, I want to talk to Powder Core. I've said it a few times. Let's get Powder Core to have a 12-foot pipe series, maybe even a 3-hitter or something, and just like bring the legends out. Have a head-to-head, Todd versus Terrier.
Yeah.
Shannon versus...
Todd versus Terrier would be a great one because Todd rode the Holy Bully, and he doesn't ride as much as I'm sure, but he didn't look like he skipped a beat.
Right. Yeah, like
cool.
Shannon Dunn versus,
She probably rips still too, I would imagine.
Yeah. If you could find a 12-foot pipe, she would fucking destroy it. Yeah. But it just doesn't exist out there.
No.
Why don't people make it?
It could exist here, but they just kind of, it costs so much money. But that's the thing is like, Breckenridge asked me, or this, not Breckenridge, but the person running the park here was like, what do you want to do? I'm like, build an 18-foot pipe, put it at the bottom. That's all we need. And they're just like, huh? It's just, they'll never get it,
Yeah.
But it's all good. Like they got it, but the people that sit in the offices, I'm not the best at communicating, so.
It's interesting that that was what we were kind of talking about before too. Just the Jamie Saltos of the world, and then the Chad Otterstroms of the world. You're on the opposite side of a scale, right?
Yeah.
Like he's not scrambling for rent ever.
No.
But he doesn't know what a snowboard is. You know what I mean? And he made a lot of money off snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. You seem to balance what you're doing. Like you're an inspiration to every single one of us that gives a shit about snowboarding.
Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. You look up snowboarder in the dictionary, your picture's going to be there. Like nobody snowboards more than you.
Thank you.
Which is, I
live in a great place for it in Colorado. It's like the best part about living here is the terrain. You're not going to get Utah, Tahoe, Northwest, Canada, Jackson Hole, Montana terrain, but you're going to get better Minnesota terrain. But I still love riding Minnesota at 2 a.m. at Trollhagen. Don't get me wrong. But we have such a long season. Like if it's a good year and it snows consistently, we start out at the middle of October and we ride all the way through till our summer camp at Woodward ends middle of August. And so
Holy
we have
shit.
2 months off. And literally, if it's a good year, you can snowboard every day, do freestyle snowboarding on park stuff. Or if there's snow, you can go hike backcountry, find pow turns, build kickers, and for me, it's just like a mental health thing, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like exercise, like being healthy, being outside, being in the outdoors, being in nature, being able to do that every day I'm not going to sit around at a job. Like, I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would rather, like, just live in a car and still
Minimize
than ruin my brain
Yeah,
on like.
yeah.
I'm in hell when I have to get a full-time job.
What's the least you snowboarded since you moved here? Like, was there a season where you just had a crappy job and maybe snow fucked up or something, like the snow didn't fall?
Never. I mean, I've snowboarded more and more every year because I've learned to work the system better. Like, I used to never snowboard in May.
Okay.
And now May is my favorite month because I split board and we have 14,000 foot peaks, and literally it's like this magical, Narnia labyrinth feeling, Lord of the Rings feeling. Like, you got to get up at, 3 a.m., 2 a.m., hike for 5 hours, and then the sun comes up at these 14,000 foot peaks after it snows in May. So that up that high, at such high altitude that snow holds, and you got a 3,000 foot run, top to bottom, blower pow at 8 a.m., and you're back eating breakfast at 9:30.
Jesus.
And your day's over, and you just feel super accomplished, and it's like, So that, that's the end of the season. That's in May, and then come June, summer camp starts, and I've been lucky enough to work for Woodward from the beginning. So every summer I'm always able to finagle my way up there, and we do an academy week there too. So it's like I'm able to ride there till end of August, and always end of August I'm like, yo, I have to ride last days, let me up. And they're like, all right, come on up.
That's amazing.
And literally, if you want to keep snowboarding, you can ride here year round, but it's not that good.
Yeah. The snow gets dirty and old.
Yeah, and it's not like, it's more about just going outside and carrying your snowboard up and enjoying the outdoors than it is about getting good snowboarding. There's a couple of people that like to claim good shredding in August, September, but it's like, okay. It's not like, I don't know.
Yeah, we did it 1 year down at Hood. It was a pretty good year on the snow field there.
But yeah, you can go year round. We did a forum foursquare shoot at Hood in October one time, and they had a half pipe up at the top of the Palmer
in October.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Hood and how fucking great they are. Like, so much shit was kind of invented there for freestyle snowboarding because it was such an epicenter.
Yeah.
Like, in those years you're talking about, like, I feel like the tabletop was invented from that last hit out of the pipe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they take all the snowcat would come through the pipe and dig all the snow out, and it would make a lump of snow at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then they'd make kickers out of it by just putting side hit kickers.
Yeah.
And they were side hit kickers. So you'd bomb the side of the pipe, and then you'd hit the side hit kicker. And speaking of, Lucas Huffness was just staying here like a month ago. He premiered his movie in Breck. And his brother was one of the dudes that year that they made Simple Pleasures. And Jesse Huffman did that front three and overshot it, went like 90 feet.
Oh, I remember
that was by far
shot.
the biggest jump ever at Hood that summer.
Yeah.
And they had just salted the runway.
Oh, no.
And now JP Walker got a front five on it in the Mac Dog movie. That was only the one I saw, but like, that was like the beginning of the end for what I was talking about here for big jumps at Hood. Like, that style of jump, eventually they refined their jumps, but that was just like, what do we do with this snow pile? Let's build a super kicker out of it.
Yeah.
And then they were left and right, so you could kind of put your edges in.
Yep.
Instead of having to hit a straight jump, if that makes sense.
No, of course.
And that was the one, Daniel Frank, that we were talking about him earlier. That was a huge year of him doing switch rodeo 7s, rodeo 5s, and like watching that in Meltdown Project was insane.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah. And those are the same years too. Like, it was like Peter would come up, do a back rodeo, and then all of us, like Tito and I and Kendall, were like, let's go do back rodeos, and we, go jock his tricks. Was that
pre-tombstones, like all those cornice tombstone things that are just down lower, or was it around the same time?
Those were probably a little earlier. Like those when that was like TB3, when Peter's like doing monster tail grabs into the valley.
Oh yeah,
into
right,
like the
right.
Valley of Hood.
I'm thinking of like Joey, and there was they kept going though, right? Like into the Valley of Hood there.
Yeah. I mean, and there's the dirty kicker, which is like a step down kicker.
Yeah,
it's right out of the parking lot.
Yeah.
Joey was at that one. He did a front three on that, I think.
Yeah.
And
I remember seeing those built. Like, I remember going to Mount Hood. That for me, because I'm an enthusiast, I'm not like a professional. The best time for Hood is the spring pass. Yeah. The spring pass, $100, no tax. You get from like, sometimes it would put it out as
like
early
all
as
of May.
February
But
1.
you just wait for the sun to pop. And
It'd be like Feb, March, April.
Oh, really?
No, it was March, April, May.
Yeah.
And then June 1st, it turns to summer or whatever. And then the summer pass is $800. Yeah. So like sometimes you're getting freak snowstorms. So like you're getting a bit of POW. You're getting like groomed POW park.
Yep.
And yeah, like the thing about Hood was they would make their features match up. Like you wouldn't just have a random giant jump in the middle of a run. It would be like the first jump would be a certain size. The second feature would be bigger. And the third feature, fourth feature, they'd get bigger as they go. Yeah. But then they would progress from park to park too. The next park over would start with the same size jump as the biggest jump in the last size park.
Yeah.
So it was like progression on steroids. It was epic.
Yep. I actually never rode there then. I only rode there, if you remember the movie, well, obviously Technical Difficulties and AMP.
Yeah.
Kurt Heine.
Yeah.
And this dude, Mike Polino, I think his name was. And then Ross, and obviously Dogger would show up. And they'd go to Mount Hood Meadows. And we'd build all these jumps. There's one called the Elevator Shaft. Peter actually had a shot on it doing Switchback 5 and up in the Annie on a cut down brushy fishboard.
Oh,
and
wow.
they'd build all these. Heine would go have the cat driver build all these perfect park jumps into backcountry landings all over Mount Hood Meadows. And I would go there. And I'd been riding here. We got all my park tricks dialed. And then I show up, and it was like snowmobile laps on all of them. We'd get like 20 hits on each of them. And I remember giving him all my tricks I knew. And then being like, fuck, what do I do next year? I don't know. I gave Mac Dog every single trick I knew off these park jumps. Yeah. And now I got to go learn new tricks. But those years too, I remember seeing Joey, and then Peter Line would show up, and everybody, the whole farm crew, Devin, Chris Brown, who else? JF.
Oh, sick.
Alistair Schultz.
Oh, yeah.
Jen Jones,
Alistair.
Mark Frank, Dave Downing. So many people. And it was the Mac Dog shoot at Mount Hood Meadows. And so much stuff went down. Brian Thien and I went and hit like the Heine Law tree ride thing from Heine doing it. And I think Thien got a cover on it.
Oh, damn. I can think of that cover.
But those were some pretty magical times. But it was kind of artificial given to you because they're like snowmobile lap. And I remember that was the first energy drink I saw too. I remember Peter shows up with a Rockstar. He's like, look at this. I got it at a gas station. It says Rockstar on it. It was like 99 or something.
Yeah.
And he legitimately went and did a back 9 and a switch 10 like after he chugged it. I was like, that shit works. No plug. I drink juice, not Rockstar. That shit's bullshit.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I talk shit on it, but I had to call myself out this year. Yeah. I get hooked on the Monster ones.
I mean, coffee. I'm sure it works, but when you juice and you drink kale and spinach. And
you're talking apple. Juice. I was going to say, juice is kind of bad for you.
No, I juice.
Like grape juice and shit like that. No.
I juice vegetables. Well, natural sugar is not too bad for you.
Yeah.
But I juice vegetables, and put just enough sugar in there to make it taste good.
Yeah.
So I call that my energy drink.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah. But
healthy.
Yeah, I'm not trying to plug Rockstar. Screw those dudes. But
yeah, I've talked shit on Monster.
Unless you guys want to give me a paycheck.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They pay a lot, right? Who was just talking about having Pepsi? Keir Dillon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like, I fucking Pepsi paid me a lot of money. Yeah. He says, yeah, it's fucking way better than being broke.
Yeah.
But people hated on him, right? Like people hated on him. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why would you have a Pepsi?
Yeah. Now it's like you have to have it. Now like kids are just frothing for an energy drink sponsor. It's just kind of painful to see. But, I mean, it's no different than like probably back in the, the movie Rad, the BMX movie era when everybody's got Coca-Cola one pieces on, they're BMXing around,
yeah, man.
So that's no different than an energy drink, but.
Well, the Coca-Cola was the energy drink. Remember?
It wasn't.
Yeah, put Coke and Pepsi.
But yeah, Hood was great. Like the Mount Hood Meadow scene, like that, like you said, the progression there. And then for me, that progression was like insane. And I got to go ride. Like for me, I was an introverted kid coming up, and it was like all of a sudden I'm riding with the 10 best snowboarders in the world, and it was like time to step my game up. And and when you're filming with Mac Dog, he's filming 16. So if you fall more than 4 times, you feel guilty because you're wasting his money.
Yeah.
And But I mean, that was a cool time. I mean, even then, as you're a Canadian, as you know, we had a snowboard gang here after the VFR.
Right.
Called the Hellcats. It was like our first gang.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there. I think I probably told you that story. But Devin and I were hitting a jump, and I had a sticker on my board. He's like, "You're the Hellcats?" This was like '99. He's like, "We're the Wildcats." I'm like, I immediately came home. I'm like, "You guys, we can't be this gang anymore. We got to change the name. These guys are way cooler. Not that they were way cooler. We were still pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to like have the same bite, so we changed our gang name. But.
Yeah. That's fucking awesome.
But so that was just like a good intro to like the MacDog Forum Foursquare scene.
Yeah. Who are the gangs now? Are there any?
There's a crew in Breckenridge right now. They just came out of a movie, Stimulus. I'll plug that.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because there's a bunch of like kind of park oriented kids that like have been really into park. They slowly getting into the backcountry around here, and then they got a sponsor for their movie last year. They have like a production company called Mentally Sound.
Yeah.
And they went to Wyoming and they went to Montana and slaughtered. They're really good snowboarders.
Sick.
It's just really hard to get that kind of terrain around here unless you really work for it. And they made a really awesome movie. So that's kind of the crew around here. Nightmare Snowboards, they're no longer really around, but they had a really awesome crew here a few years ago. They all kind of moved away. Trying to think.
Yeah, the Dinos guys up in Vancouver.
Yeah. Well, then obviously, you got your Man Boys film crew in Canada.
Man Boys, right. And then the Salmon Army, all the Salmon Arms homies are awesome.
And obviously the Dustbox crew is a major crew.
Yeah.
I mean, I got my crew around here. Like I got my friend Doran that I shred with and their whole crew over in Aspen, Zach, and a few of those guys and Chase. And that's my crew over there. And then I got a crew over here, my buddy Jeff, Jake, I don't want to forget anybody, but like I got friends over here too. So yeah, it's like I got my crews here, but they're still, the older you get, I'm lucky to still have a crew that wants to go do freestyle tricks.
It's hard, isn't it? It's like, people fall off.
Yeah. Or they just want to go turning.
Yeah. That's
like, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. I'm getting closer and closer.
We still do that. Like we mentioned Craig Kelly doing getting one leg up, but he what I always remember a story, like those guys always did 2-3 laps before they went and started filming.
Mm-hmm.
They had the budget to do that, which nobody has anymore.
He was super smart about it. Yeah.
I do that now all the time. I'm like, we're going to go do one split board lap and then kind of focus on something, or go do a couple sled laps and then focus on something. Get your feet under you, but back in when I was film days, it was like straight to the cheese wedge. You're lucky to get 4 turns in and then toss your 720.
Yeah.
And that was just because I was out of my element. You'd have to go all the way to Canada. You can't be like, oh, sorry guys, I'm going to take this off. And they're like, no, dude, you're on our program now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You enjoyed it though, hey? Like.
Oh, every second of it. Yeah. But it was ups and downs. You get burnt quick.
Yeah.
And you're just like people pulling you in all directions because. At that time you could have a lot of eggs in your basket. It's like I wrote for 32, Smith, Foursquare, M3, Flux, maybe somebody else, and Active. And all those sponsors are pulling you to do stuff for them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if you thought about it, it's probably, I was lucky to have ADD.
Yeah.
Because you're just not paying attention. You're just going.
What was it like for you? Like, what was your style on like jumps? Like, would you ever roll up to something and just be like, okay, I'm not hitting this. It's not built right. Or were you there with the crew, shoveling hard, building the jump, getting the shit dialed?
I kind of would follow around a little bit.
Okay.
Like I remember going to, unless it was in Colorado, then I was, pretty alpha doggy.
Yeah.
100%. I'd be like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
No one was messing with our program at all.
Yeah.
But then when I'd go to Utah or something, then I'd be on somebody else's crew. So you couldn't really play that game. You kind of follow them around and, do a little here, a little there.
Yeah.
Canada was huge, I'd go to Tahoe and I'd just follow Blaze a little bit, and Relay and those guys. But, in Colorado, I'm alpha dogging, but,
nice.
Or a couple of us alpha dogging.
Yeah.
Making things happen, but when you go somewhere else, you kind of have to if someone has been out there a lot and they're showing you the way, you kind of got to respect that.
Yeah, I guess so. Right. Right.
I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not riding with kooks, so it's not like you
exactly.
show up
everybody's kind of on the same program.
Yeah. Somebody's built some.
If anything, I was
thing.
the kook. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
It's like for sure. But,
I wonder about that 100-foot jump kind of thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like,
will they ever do 200-foot jumps? Because I remember being a kid watching the ski jumping, and they were going, like 70 feet or whatever.
Remember Mods went like 160?
Yeah.
I think but then that was just like with a snowboard, it's like kind of like the sail that if your nose goes down, you're front flipping, like it catches wind.
I can remember being at Bachelor, and it was so windy up there that like hitting park jumps, you'd get blown around.
Yeah, so it's like you don't want to go more than 100 feet. And the fact that you could do that in a public park at 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m., you know what I mean? Like that's where I'm seeing the end of it. I don't care about how big you are, I guess. But it's it's like resorts for kind of like, why are we building this $100,000 piece of mound of snow for, 2 people to hit?
Yeah.
And then when Sean came here, and it was no disrespect to Sean at all, it's great that he learned triple cork. But when he had his airbag set up next to his jump, and it was a private shoot for him and only him every day, and Jeff Myers in the trees shooting for TMZ, and it's like, all right, yeah, we're where are we?
Where are we?
Like you're like, oh, we're good.
Sean really chose to be on his own. It feels like, hey,
yeah.
I've talked about that a bit this year. Like just Mark McMorris is easily, as dominant has been the last few years.
For sure.
But he like hangs with everybody.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, he was also, he had I guess Sean has a brother, but Mark has a brother that snowboards aggressively, easily as well. So, it could be a family dynamic. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sean, he's definitely like this SoCal rock star.
Yeah. Like, he's literally a rock star. That's right. He plays in a band and he... Yeah.
But I don't know. This will be interesting watching this Olympics because he's trying, and this is definitely the first time in a very, 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 very long time that he's been the underdog.
We're talking about Mark now.
Sean.
Sean's is see, I don't know anything about
Mark's an underdog too, but like I said, Mark is a consistent snowboarder.
Yeah.
So all those dudes that might be doing maybe an extra 360 on him, because I've seen a lot of dudes do some insane spins.
Yeah.
Might not have the competitive experience that he does.
Right.
And might not land.
Right. But even if they do, like what is better? Like a that's what you're talking about, like a floaty 9 or a floaty 12 or 14, 40 or whatever.
You got to make it look good.
Yeah. Or a like it's frantic 19. Actually, those 19s don't look frantic.
I mean, the 19 will do better. As long as it's cleaner.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, as a snowboarder, I'll judge it higher, but I'm not gonna call it a trick.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you can't float a trick, you shouldn't be doing it. Yeah.
You're gonna judge again this year for the natural selection?
I haven't got the confirmation yet, but
you're hoping to.
It's in the works.
Yeah. That would have been so much fun.
That one's a fun one. Then the best part about that is the vibe too. Like I think it's an 8-day window, and 6 of those days you're riding.
That's epic.
So whether it's good or bad, and it's a very competitive, non-competitive event. Like most snowboard events always are. Certain people bring the vibe, but everybody's always kind of up there for each other in a way too. Like if somebody does a good run, people are like, that was sick.
Yeah.
No one's going to be like, damn it, now what am I going to do? Or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Austin opening it up. It's just burned in my brain that big. Like, doesn't he just,
Gigi opened it up with the 7.
Gigi opening it up with the 7. Right.
Yeah.
And then Austin's first run too. That just super blast.
Yeah. And then Austin just went full follow his track.
Yeah.
But the cool part about that was too, is the night before they all picked names.
Right.
And I think Gigi was like in the position to just be like, fuck it, I'm going first. He was just like, he was like manned up. He's like, yep, I'm in. And definitely paid off. But he's that good. I talked to him about it too. And he's like, yeah, I did a front 7. Then I was thinking maybe next year I'll do front 10. He's like, but I didn't want to go down like that rabbit hole of like, now I did the 7. Now I want to spin more.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So he did. Like, and he went and did something else, but like, Because like it's weird when you're a competitor. You're like, I landed in front 7. How do I one up that? Like,
Totally.
now I'm going to spin more, but or with a natural selection course, technically you don't. That's not the path.
Right.
You can just go down a whole new run and do something totally different instead of just spinning more. We're big air, which is going on in Steamboat right now. I'm kind of excited to see the results and what the brotator is at, is what I call it.
Brotator.
The brotator, yeah. It's like an app on your phone that you put on your chest and it tells you how many spins you do by the end of the day. If you get up to like 20,000, you're like, you had a pretty good day. But, so that'll be pretty good. But I don't know. That's enough contest stuff though, you know? Like,
yeah.
Though I was kind of a competitor because you had to like do that to prove yourself.
Yeah. Where did you go? X Games, definitely.
Well, I did X Games and then I did those qualifiers because I was invited for the Open. But then a lot of the contests I did good in were the ones that came here because all the contests came to Colorado.
Oh, that's dope.
So it was like X Games, Grand Prix, Triple Crowns, Dew Tours, Gravity Games. Everything just came to Colorado because everything was... And then that lasted till about 2001, and then I started not doing good and then hurt my ankle and then kind of came back a little bit in 2005. I did pretty good.
Yeah.
2004 I did pretty good. I like, you know, but and then that was kind of 2006 did okay, and then I definitely slowed down after that.
Yeah.
And then I went more into the free ride, just because I didn't want to hurt myself, and when you don't have the tricks, you know it. It's like I don't want to waste my time. But I was lucky enough to have all those contests come here because if they didn't come to Colorado, I don't think I would have done them. I wouldn't have traveled here.
When did you guys start Academy? Like I remember hearing about it, 15 years ago or something.
Academy was started here in this where we're sitting.
Yeah.
My roommate Matt Peterson lived here. He lived in this room here.
Yeah.
And he started it with JB was the founder and president, did a lot of the work. Matt was more the marketing guy.
Yeah.
And JB grew up in Northern Tahoe, living in SoCal, running Random Snowboards, I think. Matt rode for Random, and I think that kind of fell off. I think Max Jenke had
Jenke was on Random for sure.
Yeah, those guys. So JB and Jenke and Shandy and that whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Shandy was on Random, but he was definitely on Academy. But it's 2002, 2003, and then I think they got an opportunity to start a brand, and they're like, let's start a brand. And then they started Academy, and I rode for Forum that year, and we were hanging out. They did all their copper shoots, and I think CJ Marsh got a cover of Transworld that year on an Academy. And,
wow.
It was the buyer's guide too, and
that's big. And
it kind of blew up like within a year. Like it was, it was the time where you could kind of do that. You could make a brand in SoCal or Northern California or wherever, and blow up a brand. And it was very grassroots because we kind of knew we didn't have the budget, or they knew they didn't have the budget to like go do this. I think they got Micah McGinley on. That was their big name. And so I saw it all happening, and I was close friends with Matt. I grew up with him, so still am. And that happened, and then it was awesome. So like those are my friends, like starting a brand, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the next year, and it was going good. And then the next year was when Forum started fumbling around, and it was getting sold to Burton.
Right.
And that was 2003, 2004.
How do you hear about that? Like
I heard about it from Mark Welsh at Maury's at a restaurant.
Oh, wow.
No, I didn't hear about that. I heard about M3 going under.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was that one.
Yeah.
And then after M3, I don't even know what happened. Then I went to Forum. And then that was just in the word that they were selling, because we found out about problems in that April, May. Raul Reese came up and had a meeting with the whole team in Mammoth, middle of filming Video Gangs, and was like, yeah, you guys aren't getting checks. We know this.
Yeah.
And I was
checks,
really
right.
getting a check anyways. I'm like, yo, bro, where's my money? I've been, I was going full, like, I was like full on faith at the moment, because, I was kind of a spoiled kid, and I was just like, let's just go. I want to ride for Forum. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And like 4 months in, I'm like, hey, where is the money? And I ended up getting what I was owed, which was good due to the fact I had an agent. But
who was your agent?
Steve Astafin.
Oh, so you were with
at the time.
Yeah, you were with.
But he didn't work my Forum deal, but he ended up getting the money for me. And I think Todd Hahn was working through him or something. But anyways, so I found out about Forum dying through Raul Reese, who was him and Marcus, I think, owned it. He came up, he's like, "What up, bro? Is this gonna be all good?" Like, and obviously it crumbled.
Yeah, so they sold it and they didn't pay off.
Yeah, I think
the contracts of people.
No, they
did pay off yours. Right. Everybody got their stuff.
We all got money.
Yeah.
When the sale happened.
Yeah.
And not a lot. I mean, I'm sure those other dudes got way more than me, but.
And then do you have to negotiate a contract again with Burton?
Well, then I was on the new forum, and then and then it was things were still up in the air. This dude Jenner, I think his name was Jenner Richard, was the new team manager, and then rumors of getting cut. I know Bjorn. I think Bjorn might have stayed on for a year, but I remember Duffy getting cut, and that was weird. That was like, all right, shit's weird. And Duffy got cut when we were on the Video Gangs tour, I think. Oh, you're like, shit. You guys are screwing up. And I think, up and down, like, Duffy's the best.
He's the best.
But having a dude on your team that has head injuries and that, I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to have that liability hanging over my head that if this guy got hurt and hit his head again, we were sponsoring him and having him going out and doing stuff out of respect for him.
The thing about him is that you're not going to stop him.
Exactly.
He's going to do it.
He'll do it anyways.
He's going to do it. He is.
True, yeah. You're going to have to go think about that anyways. But
yeah.
But I've thought about that with anybody. I'm like, I don't want to put anybody in a position where they might have that second thought in their head. But
dude,
anyways,
you just articulated exactly why I never push my kids. Yeah. I've talked about it before. It's one of those things. I can't be up there encouraging them to do something.
That's why I couldn't coach either. I see these coaches yelling at the people to do these tricks. I'm like, dude, these guys are going to hurt themselves. You gotta go have them do it in POW.
Yeah.
Like that's where they should be learning these tricks, not in the park.
Yeah, especially if they're so afraid to do it.
But the coaches have never even ridden POW, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a big one. I remember Ricky being like, "Yo, Duff got cut." I'm like, "Holy shit, shit's hitting the fan."
Yeah.
And that was before me too. So I'm like, all right, now it's weird because I should have been cut before him, obviously.
And, come on.
And
everybody's got that, hey? Like a little bit of a like.
But anyways, I mean, he was an OG forum dude. I was just on for like a year. But
right.
And so all respect to Duff, he's the best. And then that year went in, and then it went into the season, and I think I did. It went into January, and I did the Vail session, which was a huge contest. And I'm going to, talk shit on Sean a little bit here. Not on Sean, but on the judging of that event.
Yeah.
But I did pretty good. And I remember Andy Hetzel called me, and he's like, "Yo, I don't know what the hell happened in the judges' booth, but Sean shouldn't have won."
Yeah.
He should have won. And he's like, we gave it to him or somebody gave it to him because he's Sean.
Wow.
And judges do not do that to riders. You don't call a rider and be like, "Yo, they screwed up in the judges' booth." Like,
no,
it's like big violation.
Yeah, big time. But
anyways, that was cool to hear. But that was in the middle, and then I was like, "What up, Forum? What are you guys gonna do?" And they were still up in the air. They're like, they made me a minimal offer, and then Matt Peterson was like, "Yo, you want to ride for Academy?"
Right.
And they matched the offer, and I'm like, and I was 28 years old, 29, and I'm like, thinking it's the end of my career. And I'm still loving it. I'm still going to go full Duff.
Yeah.
No one's telling me what to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not like I'm going
to... That's a really interesting proposal, right? Like because you always hear it when it's the other side.
Yeah.
When, you go to Academy and say, Burton's offering me this. Yeah. And they go, fuck, dude.
We got to do it. Yeah.
We can't do that. We could never match that. It's not going to happen. Yeah. But
it wasn't a lot of money.
No, but for Burton to make such a weak offer, you know what I mean?
And but they did that. And then I was like, am I going to finish off my career with my, not that I wasn't friends with the dudes on Forum or knew them, but they didn't live here.
Right.
They weren't like, to go snowboard with them, I got to travel halfway across the country.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I was shredding with Matt Peterson and Mike McGannity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? CJ Marsh, the crew was there.
Yeah.
We were all here.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, let's do this. This is my crew. These are my friends. Let's do this. And And then since then, it's been very. And then we've been ups and downs. There's like years I didn't ride for Academy.
Really?
Yeah, from like 2008 all the way till 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It was just like to the point where they couldn't have riders really because their sales were just up and down. There was problems with productions. They're like, yeah, I can't pay. So like I went and rode for a couple other brands in between there. Like I rode for, I got to deal with Rosignol for a couple of years.
Are you serious?
And then that shit the bed.
Wow.
And then that was all respect to Academy. They were like, yeah, like you're worth money. Go find something.
Please, yeah.
And my buddy Alex Pashy worked for Rosignol, so he put me on and like did that for a couple of years. And Quicksilver bought him, and then shit, put that in the garbage. And then, and then after that, we tried to restart solid snowboards with Kurt Wastel and Rob Moretta and Willie McMillan.
Oh shit,
And
that would have been fun.
It was super fun. We did it for a year, but like the reality of it is just like it's not happening.
The thing is, the reason that Solid went out of business was probably they're a little too small.
And production, all their boards fell apart too.
Yeah. Oh,
but it was just
so
like
they have the same thing.
And it was the same thing.
Right.
Like anybody starting nostalgia brands is like cool. That's great. That's
Good luck.
Fun. Great. Have fun being a boutique brand in your local shop. That's about as far as it's gonna go. But it's all. I was proud to ride for Solid because all my friends worked for him.
Yeah.
Micah, Jake, all these high school friends rode Solids. That was like the cool brand. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. Kurt's like obviously an amazing snowboarder, skateboarder.
The best.
Ron's cool. Willie's awesome.
Yeah.
So that didn't really work out. So then Willie was just like, yo, I'll make you boards. And I was like, through Bluebird Wax.
The Bluebird boards.
And
Kevin was riding one when we were.
Yeah. So, and then we went to like, and that kind of like honestly kept me alive. Like him making me boards and keeping me a part of the snowboard scene was like, he did it for like 4 or 5 years and like 4 years probably. And like, not that I wouldn't have gone back to Academy, but I was just like kind of moving on.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was a snowboard coach. I was moving on with my career. I was like not trying to be a pro snowboarder or be involved with the snowboard industry at all. I'm like, I'm making a living as a snowboard coach. Ross Powers, who works for SMS, he's the main guy there. He offered me a job. Rick and Phoebe were the head people there before, and they had mentioned me. And so I was a coach for Stratton Mountain School. The kids would come out here, and I had an awesome crew. And I coached them for 3-4 years.
Brad.
And Willie made me boards, and I would get shots and have fun. And then I go to Argentina in the summer, and I go ride there and go to Hood. And I was able to kind of like milk it and keep up my skills because I was riding with these kids that were like, it was like, I'll drop their names now. It's like Xander, Evan, Kirk, Maverick, Noel, Benji, Hannah Merson. Like, I had this crew, of like 6, probably 7 kids. And the main was like 4 kids. It was like the first couple I mentioned, but they were super good. So they kept me on point. And I was an average coach. I was more of like a, hey, it's a powder day, kids. We're going to the Vale coach.
Yeah. Dope.
And then like we're gonna go train.
Right.
I was more of a kid with a coach that would talk to him about tricks, and then go watch him do tricks. I wouldn't necessarily tell him what to do.
Some kids would thrive in that, right?
And I would show them where to go. Like in Colorado, if you don't know Colorado and how to dodge the lines and what resort to go to at the right time, you're gonna waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
So that's what I was good at. And I was able to ride with them, so we'd go hit these 80-foot park jumps every day. And I'd be right on their tail all day long for years. And I had Bluebird boards, and that kept me in the industry, and that kind of kept a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Because I knew every time I go to Jackson, Willie be, treat us good. And like being a part of that crew is just like, it's not even a brand. You just sell, it is a brand, but it's more of like a homie's brand,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like cool to be a part of that. And I just kind of kept snowboarding myself and personal, and I was over it. I just wanted to make a living being a coach and have fun. And then all those kids graduated from high school.
Yeah.
And then the Stratton Mountain West thing kind of faded off here, so they didn't have any new kids coming in because that was kind of a niche thing that those kids really wanted to do. And then I got a job offer in Aspen, and I coached there. And then I did that for a year, or literally first couple months, I'm like, I'm done. Like the kids I had coaching were great, but it was very structured to the point where you don't have any personal time to snowboard.
Oh, shit.
And it was like, I had 2 days off a week, and they weren't the same day in a row.
Oh, no.
And it was cool because my friend Doran lived over there. I've known him for, since high school, basically at Nationals. And I knew a couple other friends over there too. And they were kind of my free ride friends. And we go out, and it was just going out to go out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no, goal or, objective. It was like, we're just going to go out sled, go rip pow. And Doran, who came back from a really gnarly leg injury, is on that same program. He's like, we're just going out to go out. And if you ever seen a snowboard, he goes and builds 20-foot jumps and does a frontside 3, and he's like insanely hyped.
Yeah.
He's what up?
Right.
Like so hyped and it's like all about just kind of going out and getting the feeling. And that's what I did there. But then the coaching died. Like I was like, I can't coach anymore. I'm losing my mind. If I can only get out and do this 10 days a week, I'd rather live in my van and if it's going to be so structured. But the Aspen Valley Snowboard Club, as far as if you're a kid coming up snowboarding, is definitely one of the best in the world. Just because they have a private park, private half pipe, private everything. So, except for the coaches are strictly working.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so that I kind of refound snowboarding there, just like the pure enjoyment of just going out to go out, and whatever happens, and let's go build this 15-foot jump and freaking shoot each other, film it like you're filming a Mac Dog movie.
Nice.
You're that focused on getting a good shot.
Yeah. But
even though it's not a Mac Dog shot, but it's still awesome.
15 feet. It's
and
not
then,
100 foot.
But then some days, your blue-green runs out there sometimes turn into black diamonds and double black diamonds.
Sure.
Depending on the day.
Yeah.
But you just kind of go with whatever happens. You're not like, eh. And then, so that was where I was at. And then JB calls me. And he's like, yo, you want back on Academy? And he's like, you want come back as marketing team manager and just kind of freaking wear every hat in the book?
Nice.
Help me out with everything and let's be business partners. And I'm like, I don't care what we do, how we have to do it. I'm doing it. I was like, I'm done coaching. I'm going to live in my van if I have to. I can't, I paid my dues. I loved it. Like everybody I worked with, everybody I met were great. But I was like, I can't do that for more than 4 years. And then that was 5 years ago, I think. And now it's been a whole new process of, refining our stuff and making the best. Our mission statement from the beginning was quality, progression, and individuals.
Yeah.
And we've always wanted to have quality first. And that's the struggle when you have manufacturers all over the world.
Totally.
And when you have a brand coming out of a factory, overseas, which they make good boards overseas too, but there's 40 other brands coming out of that same factory that are the same but different. It's like eating a different taco at Taco Bell. It's the difference between a chalupa and a gordita, there's not much.
Yeah.
Like, so, and then all it is a marketing game with that, and it's like, I don't want to play that game. So quality's first is kind of our game, and now that we've been with Never Summer for the last 5 years, our quality's been like gold, and then we're the only cambered boards coming out.
Who hooked that up? And you guys got them to make cambered boards. I remember that at the shop up in
So like, because Never Summer makes rocker camber, they do have a couple camber boards now, but their focus is on the 90% of the people in the lift that want to ride that super versatile board.
Yeah, that easy to handle thing, right?
But ours are a little more freestyle oriented. But we do offer a very easy ride board, the team and the Ganda. But
how many boards in the line?
We have 5 boards in the line. We have a Propaganda, which is a flat profile, kind of like your skateboard, super good for buttering, boxes, rails. But it also, with the Varigrip side cut and all the materials that go into it, if you want to look at our catalog, you can see all the materials. I won't mention them.
Yeah.
But it turns really good and it holds up really good. The next boards are Propaganda and Micro Camber. It's the same board but with micro camber basically in different sizes. And that micro camber is huge. It's like the new microdose of snowboards.
Nice.
Everybody's into microdosing. I'm into micro cambers. I don't microdose. But and that's just the same board with a little more control. But the micro camber is what it's all about because it's not too rigid like a harsh camber board.
Yeah.
And then we have a team which is camber between the feet, micro camber, and then early rise nose and tail with a rocker on that. So it'll float super good in slush and pow. And then my board is the Graduate, which is like a hard charger camber board with an early rise nose. And then the Chris Roach, we got Chris Roach on 3 years ago.
Sick.
I think we're going on his 4th pro model.
Yeah.
Maybe 5th pro model. Or no, we're going on it. Well, 4th pro model this season, 5th pro model next season.
Yeah.
So he's a legend in Tahoe, and we're based out of Tahoe. We're Tahoe since 2002. Like Matt started here, but JB's from Tahoe, so like he's the dude he's the president, founder. You know, he makes a lot of final decisions, and he's been in the business for the last 20 years. So he's gonna have something to say about a lot of stuff. So, anyways, we got Roach on 5 years ago. I believe he was doing. Anyways, we're like, if you ever want to ride for us, we're here.
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
Tahoe. You're the most legendary snowboarder.
What did he do? 3-4 years with, maybe even more, with what was his brand? I forget.
D-Day.
D-Day. Right.
Yeah, I think that fell off, and then
yeah.
I mean he was floating around with Sims or something when they were.
Oh, that's right. He did a Sims year.
And we're like, if anything ever happens with them, and let us know.
Yeah, the boards are good. So
and
yeah.
And he hit us up. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And then that happened like in October, and we're like, damn, we got to get a pro model out now. So we had to like hustle to get it out, and came out with a late release pro model that year. But like I said, like in my opinion, there's a lot of snowboarders in Tahoe, like Terry Kidwell in the 80s, you know.
Yeah.
Like those are and Chris Roach, Noah Selaznick, you know, Dana Nicholson, like Damian Sanders,
yep.
like
Tom
there's
Bird.
That whole crew, the whole Western Front movement.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like those guys were the dudes pioneering kickers at Squaw Valley.
Totally.
They pioneered Squaw Valley snowboarding, like guaranteed 100%.
Yeah.
And
you know the story behind that, Artie and
I think you talked about it.
Yeah. Did I talk about Artie and who's the other fault line guy? Jerry.
Jerry Dugan.
They were hired to just film people on the mountain.
Yeah, they were just like ski filmers, and then they filmed the snowboarders.
Yeah. And then they
started making snowboard movies.
Yeah, and their movies.
That was Western Front, right?
Western Front, and then
Fall Line.
It's Snowboards and Excel.
All right, on.
Yeah, Western Front was sick, man.
Yeah.
I watched it the other day.
So that was just like, imagine that. Like you go to Squaw Valley those days, and it was probably like a blanket, like they talk about Baker, a blanket of snow.
Yeah.
Like you weren't like stressing to get up there. Like now you're up there after 10, you're like, it's moguls.
It's done.
But so they were just probably punting every big cliff up there.
Yep.
All day long and just learning the ways. I remember seeing a video of Noah talking about how he rode a race board off the cliffs, and he talked about how the cliff was big and landing was flat, but only way he landed is because he's on this freaking 170 race board.
That's amazing.
And yeah, so we got Roach, but it's like and he's our top, you know, like we're true blue, you know, 2002 Tahoe.
Yeah.
And I mean, I used to live in Squaw Valley. I lived on Blaze's couch for a couple months. I rode Squaw a lot, but I'm more of a Colorado dude, so. But anyways, that's the story with Academy, I guess, and we're still going pretty strong. And like I said, for those years that I was coaching, Bluebird was the light at the end of the tunnel. Like Willie gave me boards, and it kind of gave me motivation to go do tricks. Be like, yo, still kind of in the scene.
Yeah.
I did. That's where I was telling you, like Jake and Jeff, my buddies, were like, they were in the park, and I'm like, back. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna try some crazy shit. Like, and. You know,
that was in those days.
I had $0. I had a full-time job.
Yeah.
I was, you know.
What were you doing for work?
I was a coach.
Oh, yeah, full-time.
It was my day off, and I'd
be
like, yo, bro, I'm tossing.
I'm fucking doing this.
And, you know, so I was still kind of keeping up with the scene. I had a Bluebird ad, and I'm doing back 10 double. And, like, I was at a full-time job as a coach, you know, and, like.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, so that kept the light at the tunnel. Thanks, Willie. And Ron and Kurt for keeping the solid going, too. And passionately at Rossignol. But those are the years that I was trying to like move on with life. And now when JB called me back and he's like, you want to actually be a part of the business instead of just being a rider, I'm like, yeah, I want to move on and kick ass and make the best out of this thing. But yeah, quality was first, and then quality progression. And like I said with our line, your easy ride flat, you know, board that's going to be easy to ride. It's a good women's board.
Yeah.
We make them in small sizes. All the way to our team, which is an easy ride board, and then progressing all the way up to my board and the Roach board, which are the ultimate free ride boards, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you can't get a board like that anywhere else in the world because we make them at the Never Summer factory. So they're one of a kind, you know. Yeah. I wouldn't really want to do this if I was making a board out of a factory that, you know, 10 other boards. Then I'm playing this marketing game with a bunch of people. It's kind of painful to play. And then our last part of our mission statement was like individuals, and that we've been running that game 20 years strong. It's like individuals, when people email Academy, they're emailing JB and I, or a sales manager, Paul.
Yeah.
Or a rep. Like, you're getting in touch with the direct people. We're not bought and sold, which was the problem when they were going up and down, because they're when you're giving up part of your company and this and that. But now we're back to when, you know, we own control of the company.
Dope.
And
Jamie Salter.
There's nobody behind the scenes. We're rider owned and operated 100%. Like JB Frost to go to Boreal. He lives in Auburn. 45 minutes from Boreal. Like, if it's snowing, which it isn't in Tahoe now, hopefully it'll soon, he's up at Boreal. Like, Matt Peterson was the VP of Boreal. Now I think he got a promotion.
Yeah.
Here's the and
sick.
So we're moving forward. Things are growing, and I enjoy it because I can go split board every day, or I can go, even though I don't make split boards.
Yeah.
I can be on my own terms with snowboarding and keep snowboarding free, and that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah, you've really gone like full purist the last few years, hey?
Yeah, 100%.
Like as the resorts got overrun, and they were always kind of busy, but there was a definite breaking point where it was like for me last year, I got acclimatized to a 3-hour wait or 2-hour wait, getting in the parking lot at 7 and getting on the lift at 9. Sometimes they'd even hold us there till like 9:30. Oh, we're not ready yet. Well, fuck, man. What are you talking about? Like, I just got used to it. Like, I went numb. Like, not the frustrated guy that's like, what the fuck is this? Why are there people here at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning?
Yep.
To being the guy that's like, no, this is how you do it. You get like 4 laps in before the lineup's like an hour long.
I got anxiety issues as it is already.
So
when you put that on it, I know I'm like, dude, I'm going to lose my mind.
You mentioned the microdose thing. Do you actually microdose? Have you ever tried?
But I like to use our microdose. Micro camber is like, oh, this is the popular thing to talk about. Micro cameras.
I talk about microdoses.
I'm sure it helps for sure. But
it's interesting.
I have a friend, Jeff Brockmeyer, who has Crohn's disease. Yeah. And he almost died, and he had all his intestine problems, and he either had a gnarly intestine surgery or tried to naturally heal. Yeah. And he started to naturally heal through fruits and vegetables, and then he started healing, and he turned into a YouTubing influencer guy talking about Jeff juices and how.
Oh, fuck, I follow that guy.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends.
Are you serious? I must have seen him through you.
He lives down in Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, in Mexico, he's always with the fruit.
He's like one of the best snowboard photographers in the world.
So much fucking fruit, man. That guy.
Well, he used to eat a lot of Fruit Loops, and we're like, dude, it's not the fruit, it's the loops. Just cut out the loops. And so
how
he got
into that. How did you?
Well, I got into it through him.
Okay.
Because I was living in Aspen in a really cold house, and the first day I lived there, I was walking around these cold. My feet started to freeze off.
Wow.
And I got this disease called chilblains, where all your blood vessels die and they break.
Oh my God.
And your blood vessels, all of a sudden your feet turn really red and you start to get lesions. And I didn't know what was going on.
Okay, that's gnarly.
And I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, why are my feet falling apart?
Right.
And I almost lost my job coaching because I was like, dude, I can't come into work. My feet are like blistering up, and I can't put boots on. And so I had to take a week off of work, and they're like, we're not going to pay you. And I'm just like, dude, I just moved to Aspen. I've got to pay rent. And I'm like, this is insane. I can't lose my job. So I'm like freaking out trying to figure out what's going on with my feet. And I finally figure out that it's chilblains. I go to the doctor. He's like, you got chilblains. Keep your feet warm. But my house was so cold that it didn't really work. Yeah. Because I'd be sleeping and it'd just be cold. And then I think a year into that, or a year and a half into that, I moved back here. And this house is warmer. Yeah. So my feet kind of slowly healed, but I was still kind of tweaky. And then my buddy Jeff's like, yo, drink this, and this 3 times a day. It'll hook up your blood, and your blood flow will be great, and it'll cure it. And like within a month, my feet were like white again. Wow. And it healed my blood flow. And I'm like, this did this in a month. And it was like the magic of eating live natural foods. Yeah. I'm still low. Like, we ate cheeseburgers tonight. Like, yeah, that's true. But it's all in moderation. Yeah. It's all in moderation, but it isn't. You know what I mean? If you have a serious problem, you can't be in moderation. But it's all about adding things, in my opinion. From what I heard, it's like, if you just add these 3 things a day, you're going to want to do less of this. And then you add more of that, you're going to want to do less of that. You want to add this, you're going to want to drink less beer. You want to, and that's kind of the path I've been going on for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And, it's saved my life. And so all of a sudden I do that with splitboarding, getting up early and kind of just living life. And it's, like I said earlier, I have ADD. I grew up, there's a whole nother story of that. I got banned from life from the FIS in 2003.
Wow.
At a contest, but I don't want to talk about that because that's another long story.
I think we've talked about it on the show.
Yeah, you can go look on the internet about that. But anyway, since I wouldn't be talking to you like this right now had Jeff not saved my life as well. Because when you eat natural food, like when you're an ADD kid, parents are like, what's wrong with my kid? I love my kid. I want him to thrive. So they prescribe their kids out of love.
Yeah.
And they're not going to give them vegetable juice because the kid is not going to drink it.
Yeah.
And now, like you said, how I've gone the natural, purest way in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Now that I, add that every day, I can think straight. I can talk straight. I still notice myself getting better at it more and more as I go.
Right.
The better I eat and the better I clean up my diet.
Do you stretch as well?
Yeah, I stretch and I work out. Well, splitboarding is, the motion is the lotion. So the more you splitboard, the more you're going to be able to move.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that saved my life. And I can talk straight. So like I said, I had ADD and I take Ritalin every day. And now I'm a better snowboarder than I've ever been in my life. I can talk straighter. I can think straighter. I can read straighter. All due to diet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And exercise. So now when I see, everything blowing up, I'm not going to go into the politics of the virus or anything, but you see all this stuff blowing up and you're like, hey, eat healthy.
Yeah.
No one talks about that.
No, you're right. Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. How
Listen
no one
to Joe
talks
Rogan,
about it. Yeah.
But I'm not going to say, I did have a friend, John Cow, die a couple months ago in Florida.
Yeah.
I don't know what his diet was, but he died of Corona. And I'm like, it's still, I like to forget about it, eat healthy and go to the mountains.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a political opinion type person in there, but yeah, anyway, so.
Isn't that funny that it hurt? Even people who have the knowledge, like yourself, myself, about opinions about what's going on with this thing. It's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to. There's so many. You need me to wear a mask? I'll wear a fucking mask. I don't care.
Yeah.
You need me to get vaccinated? I got vaccinated as soon as I could because I was like, I want to fucking travel again.
Yeah, I got better things to do with my time.
Yeah, I got better things to do with my time than try and fight against this. You think
and
it's bad.
It's like I say eat healthy, but that's being a hypocrite too, because there's people that live 20 miles from a grocery store that has food that is healthy, and they don't have the means to even get there, and they live in a cold environment where they can't grow their own food. So it's not a realistic thing to tell everybody to do that.
No, it's not.
But in my opinion, and I'm lucky enough to be able to do that, and I hope that I can continue on that path, and it saved my life because I was down in the dumps. I was depressed.
Yeah.
Partying, freaking, all my support crew was at the bar.
Yeah.
I was like, and since I changed that, it's like, I still spend a lot of time alone, but it's like, I don't have anxiety or depression. Like
you can live with yourself. Like you can sit with yourself. That's an important thing that you can do. Yeah. Right? Like, you
still got to deal with your demons. You still got to deal with the shitty person you might have been.
Sure.
But,
sure.
You can live with yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's, I remember not being able to be alone. You know what I mean? Like just sitting in my place, I'd be like, fuck, I gotta go.
If you knew your friends were out.
Especially if
you're not
friends,
hanging out at your house.
My friends were hanging out. There was no way I was sitting at my house thinking about that. It was like,
thinking about
where are we going?
Making juice to become a healthier human.
It's not going to happen.
No.
But then when I had kids, right?
Yeah.
Once I had kids, but then almost right away, they were 4 and 2, or now 6 and 2, maybe 6 and 3, 7 and 3. Mm-hmm. So I was 7 years into this kind of dedicated to the kids thing. And then all of a sudden I get a divorce and I got half the time to myself again. So half the time I'm like shit faced. And then half the time I'm dad trying to and texting is first starting to come in, and I'm, you know what I mean? Like it was really uncomfortable not being comfortable sitting by myself,
Yeah. No, I hear you. You get like the twitchy anxiety.
Yeah.
But like I said, you don't have to get rid of that. But it's like if you add things like to work on being a better human and to being healthier with what you eat, then it's easier to let go a little bit of the other side a little more.
I used to go through it with.
You gotta like yin and yang it, like
yes,
balance. But whatever. I'm not trying to be a motivational, inspirational speaker.
Well, you got one moving in soon, right? Like
my roommate's moving upstairs.
Yeah, so that's fucking awesome.
He sounds like he's a mental health or mental fitness coach. So.
I don't even know what that is.
Me either,
the first time I heard about that is here. But yeah. I used to go through it seasonally with with snowboarding. Yeah. You would come off the snowboarding, which was like really social and friends and having a good time. And then the summer would be like, I guess I'm drinking now, you know, and
that's why it's nice to have a long season here.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do that till the end of August, and then you got 2 months to figure out what to do with your life.
Just unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah, what are you doing? 2 months.
But yeah, I hear you. Like, if you can't snowboard, you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah, so I would be bored.
So much a part of your life.
Yeah, and just be drinking, and then slowly but surely over the years, the drinking would start to mesh into the snowboarding. So I'd be drinking on the way up the hill. I'd be drinking on the hill. And, when you're not caring as much about the actual snowboarding. When
you don't have to produce.
Yeah. Oh,
that's what I was saying. Like Willie giving me those boards kept the light.
That's really
because I was like,
that's
I gotta
really
produce
dope.
a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. He's such a good guy. He's building a complex or something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, I hear you. Like the partying, you move out here to snowboard, and if you get into partying, it finds its way back into snowboarding, and you gotta manage that.
It wrecks it. Those days where you've where you've blown it, like where you did know it was going to be a Bluebird the next day, but then you kind of convince yourself like, maybe the weatherman's wrong, or maybe it won't be that good. And then you wake up, so hungover and you don't go and you missed it.
Or you're not even hungover and you're shredding with Johnson and Warburton and Whistler. You're like, dude, this is the sunniest day we've had here, and we're riding freaking blue-green groomies.
I still don't understand why. Why would they have
no idea
done
how
that?
Happened. I think we were just like, he's like, I got tickets to Blackcomb. Let's go ride for the day. And I was like, all right, let's just go shred. Like, I'm sick of sitting around not doing anything. And that was like the one day, like the sun popped at like 11. It was sunny for the rest of the day.
Oh, no way.
But whatever, it's all good.
You're a very very hard worker, hey? Like, considering that you've never had like a traditional 9 to 5, you're a hardworking person.
In snowboarding, yeah. I mean, it's not hard to work hard in snowboarding.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
But I'm very introverted focused, I guess you could say. Like when I'd go to Whistler, I didn't talk to anybody. I was living in Squamish and I'd just sit there and wait.
What would you do while you're waiting? Watch videos?
I'd watch like a box of VHSs. I'd go to Starbucks. Because when you're in Squamish, you got to go to Whistler, and that's like an hour away.
Yeah, it is.
I'm like, I'm not going to go drive there to hang out and then drive back. I don't know. It was.
Whose place were you at?
It was only like 2 months that I was there. So
whose place were you at?
Johnson's.
You're at Johnson's. Yeah.
That was the second year. But I lived the forum year. They had a forum house across the street, like across the highway.
Yeah.
I lived there for like 2 months.
Oh, sick.
Just hanging. I was hurt, so we didn't really do much. And then before then, I'd go to Whistler. I'd go to first time I went up there was with Scotty Whitleg, Giggy, Blaze.
Holy shit.
And Andy Wright and Brad Kramer.
Damn.
It was like all of our first trip to Whistler, I think.
What?
Yeah, 2001.
Wow.
And flew up there, and we went to Callahan and a couple other spots, and I just tomahawked the whole time. Yeah. But that was like, Giggy was showing that he could snowboard. Yeah. We'd build cheese wedges, and he'd be like popping off everything all around it. And Scotty too,
Yeah. And then Scotty seems like a dope dude.
Yeah. Blaze too. Blaze pretty good, but we rode with Lucas Upton that time too, because Lucas was living up there.
Oh yeah.
And
that's another really good guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. Like I said, he was just here the other day.
Yeah. That's super sick.
His career, or his new film career.
Yeah. He's doing really well, huh?
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
He's smart,
Yeah.
I was listening to his podcast he did on Bombhole. I'm like, dude, you're one of those smart people.
Yeah. How did you get on? Because you're an introvert. How did you get on Snowboard Project? Like, what does that look like?
On what?
On Snowboard Project. What is it? Yeah, Snowboard Project.
The video, the
podcast. Yeah.
Oh, I just know Sullivan. I'm not,
Yeah. And he pitched it to you guys like.
He did. Well, I did his podcast. He did it, and then I'm just like a fan of. Oh, I mean, when he did J2, have you ever heard J2's? Yeah. It's as gold as it gets. I think that's one of the best podcasts I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Because I've known J2 forever, but that was pretty insane. And I mean, and I like the way that he interviewed people.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is pretty cool. And then he asked Bjorn and I to do a Real Talk last season because he wanted to add more shows to his podcast.
Yeah.
And this year it's been not as on schedule. It's more been like, hey, if there's something let's talk about, I'll get on the mic and mic up.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's a dude that's been around the snowboard industry a long time like you. So he wants to interview, Keith Washington in Tibet,
right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
The dude Tron, or did you interview Tron?
No.
Who did Tron? The dude that goes to goes to Antarctica to shred, and all these interesting people.
Yeah.
Where they're not just kind of the flavor of the month. They're just these people that have been in the industry that people might not necessarily know that have a really cool story.
Yeah, we're basically doing the same thing. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And
that's like why podcasts are blowing up, in my opinion, in the snowboard industry, because it's shedding light to the behind the scenes of what's really going on.
We missed it. We missed our opportunity during those days to kind of mix in the new with the old. There should have been a little bit more history there, but we just didn't care to look at it. And so now that people are looking at it, it's some pretty interesting shit.
Snowboarding for a few years, they were just kind of off the old and with the new.
Oh yeah, totally.
And just writing people off left and right.
Yep. And, good people.
People were just kind of hanging on.
Which was ripe for me when I first started this thing, to reach out to people that, like, to me, they're these huge mega celebrities, like yourself even. But like, people like Tara Dikitas we were talking about earlier on, no one had heard from her for so long.
Yeah.
She married that skier dude.
Yeah.
She was off the grid. She was a little bit mad. You know what I mean?
She was probably a little butthurt in the industry, probably.
I think so.
I think it might have been an Omatic issue. I don't know.
I think that there was a bunch of people that were kind of like that.
I thought Todd Richards in Omatic was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of it. But
yeah.
I can say that. But
sure.
Just because whatever. I would respect that.
Todd's
I don't
awesome.
know what happened there, but yeah, she's definitely. She lives over in Aspen, has 2 kids.
Yeah.
And she might snowboard every once in a while, but if you ever watch the Video Gangs extras and you see what they did to her knees, like, you could see her just pulling out of the industry, because I think she has some pretty serious knee injuries.
Oh, man.
But she was, you could say Tara Dikitas was top 3 women snowboarders to ever ride a snowboard, hands down.
Ever.
Not even a question.
Yeah. Groundbreaking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just Camara. Going big. Jess Camara's in there too, just exactly, Jess too. Like with that kind of courage, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Jess is like, if you've ever met Jess, you right away, you're like, you're a really cool person. You're friendly. You're awesome. But yeah, so that's with podcasts, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's so specialized, right? Like, and I don't mean the snowboard podcasts. I just mean podcasts in general.
In general, yeah.
I mean, eventually in the future, you could say, I like snowboarding and golf, and then there'll be a podcast where they interview Devin and
Aaron Niemela.
And
Aaron Niemela is apparently, I don't know if he's a club pro, but he's a pro snow.
Bert Lamar and Nick Parada.
Yeah,
like Nick Parada's a golf pro.
Yeah,
like, so you could have that. Like, that's we're talking about it right now. Yeah,
of AK with Chris Pappas.
Yes,
and Farmer. They dropped it on the Moose's Tooth.
Oh my God, the Moose's Tooth from TB for the very first Totally Bored.
I went to AK with Parada.
No way. Like, he was a guide for you guys?
Yeah, him and this dude Badger. Well, I was a filmer. I milked my way onto a trip.
What?
As a filmer in 2012.
Oh, and nice.
They're like, we need a filmer. Like, Chad can be a filmer. I'm like, oh yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Like, Did you have to buy a camera, or you borrowed a camera from somebody?
No, I'm a filmer. I have a camera.
Yeah.
I've been making movies. Like, that's what I do for fun.
Oh, yeah, right.
But I had
right.
like a whole AOD crew. That was our second gang. Like Jake Weber, Jason Landry, Matt Peterson, Francis Bull, freaking Kurt Ryan. Like, we had a whole...
Oh, sick.
Jason Landry, yeah. Like, we had a whole crew of like gang here that was amazing. That I don't want to discredit at all. But
yeah.
I mean, there's a million stories you could tell, a million friends we could talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, yeah. Back to Nick Ferrata. Chris Pappas was the coach of this kid, Finn Bullock, who's a pretty good snowboarder now still. And he was an 8-year-old at the time. And we're like, let's bring him to Alaska. He's going to bring him to Thompson Pass.
Holy shit.
And then Thompson Pass had melted off. So Nick's like, we got to go to the Alaska range, which means we got to fly over the water from the, which was very expensive. And we did it in May. And it was Parada and Badger were the guys. And they actually had a ski coach as well in case he wanted to ski.
Wow. What?
They would fly us all across the water every day. Well, not every day. We only flew for 3 days. The first week, we drove around in Suburbans in the rain. Everybody was losing their minds. And then Paula, the mom, was like, if it not sunny tomorrow, we're all flying home. I'm canceling the trip.
Oh, my God.
And then, boom, the sun popped.
Nice.
And the next 3 days, we went up and we dropped this 8-year-old kid on the first descents in Alaska.
No way.
Yeah, I got videos on YouTube.
An 8-year-old kid.
But they were blue-green runs, but they were first.
But nobody
descents.
had ever done it.
Nobody had ever done them. There's Wolverine tracks. I'm sure they're everywhere in Alaska, but like
Holy
in the
shit.
Alaska range, and Pappas is following him. There's pictures of it. I can send you these pictures.
Yeah.
Jeff took him. Like I said, Jeff Juices.
Yeah.
He was the photographer. He's the guy that got me the filming gig, and he's one of the best photographers in the world, if not, and snowboarder. Photographer, that's how he got to start, but then he got Crohn's disease and everything. Shit hit the fan, but...
Yeah.
So yeah, we got all these 3 days of heliing, dropping into first descents in AK with his 8-year-old kid, and first day we went up was partly sunny, and the next 2 days were fully sunny and gold, and I got to listen to Pappas and Parada stories.
Oh, wow.
The whole time. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Pappas neither of them are short of stories.
Yeah, of course.
But
yeah, Parada. Remember that Parada rock jib with his
the dreadlocks.
head?
You think the dreadlocks saved his melon? I think we talked about that when I was up there too. Because when he went tomahawking over rocks,
Yeah.
and he had dreadlocks,
Yeah.
I wonder if dreadlocks will soften the blow on the rocks.
Probably
with your
would
head.
have. Yeah, that was the first time that something was videoed that was like, ew.
Yeah, deadly. Like, what was he thinking anyways? Like, he hooked an edge before the rocks and just somehow...
He was going too fast for what he was doing. And where was he going?
And those guys are probably riding freaking 170 freaking 2x4s.
Yeah.
It didn't turn.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're going the wrong direction, you can't really do much.
Is he on a Kemper on that? I think he's on a Kemper.
Yeah.
God damn.
But he's a golf pro now, but he's also, he went full like fishing snowboard guide up there for years.
Yeah, Alaska Heli
he was
guide.
the AK guy.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. That's incredible. He's one. Yeah.
But yeah, he would tell great stories,
Yep.
But yeah, like the behind the scenes, for sure.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and Pappas too, man. Like his whole
Pappas,
story is crazy.
He was the first snowboarder to ride Jackson Hole.
Wow, really?
He convinced him to let him up on the lift.
No way.
And then he was the instructor. Yeah.
That's
From what I
incredible.
heard.
Yeah.
Like the first legal rundown. Or
Sure.
Something like that.
Someone might have hiked it before him, but
I think
first
he
got
was
to ride a lift.
Yeah.
Invited.
And if you look at his Facebook, he's got all these like him jumping Corbett's on like a, shitty ass snowboard, like a wooden Sims or whatever.
I gotta go check that out. He was the head coach for Windhouse when I went in 1990.
Oh, really?
He picked us
No
up
way.
in Tim's like minivan with a mattress in the back and 6 campers from the Portland airport to camp, lying with our boards in the back of a fucking van. That's
awesome.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah.
I remember just being like, "This is so not formal." You know what I mean?
No, like when I went to go back to Hood.
Yeah.
Like I said, the first summer I went out was 1992. To be not formal.
Yeah.
I was 15 and like I saved up enough money to go for mowing lawns to make it out there. My mom was like, "I'll pay half." It was like $700 to go out there then.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
that was 35 lawns. Like, not that bad. And I get there and I get to the airport. I'm a 15-year-old kid. First time I've ever flown alone. And I sit in the airport and I'm like, okay, where do I go?
Yeah.
And then I saw like 4 people that look like snowboarders. Like, do you guys know where USSTC is? And they're like, yeah, we're going to that camp. And then like van rolls up. We all just get in. No logos, no nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we drive up and, as loose as it gets.
Yeah. Yeah. As loose as it gets. Yeah. I was there 2 years earlier.
Yeah.
And it was my first road trip by myself. Yeah. I drove to Michigan to fly out of the States. It was cheaper. Mm-hmm. And when I came back, they took my car apart because they're like, where were you? I'm like, snowboarding. Yeah. They're like, why does your shit smell so bad? Yeah, like what? I'm like, because I've been snowboarding for a week and it's been, it's just been wet for a week and now it's been packed in a bag. I'm flown here. They took the car, like all the panels off the doors and everything. I didn't even know what they were looking for. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they were obviously looking for drugs. Yeah. And this stupid kid, somebody's loading him up with drugs. To,
right. I hate crossing the Canadian border. I'm a very strict and straightforward person in case the Canadian border is listening to this right now.
Yep.
I'm always on point when I go through, so don't worry about me. But I still just hate it because you guys, you're trained to not be nice, and I understand that.
You're correct. You're absolutely correct. My friend Trevor is a border guard, and I saw him when I was crossing at the airport. He was like the border guard at the next one over, but it didn't look like him because he's always smiling. He's like a smiley guy. I go, is that Trevor? And my guy goes, yeah, you can go over there and go talk to him. Like all of a sudden, like the formality of it was like completely broken. Yeah. And I go and I interrupt him and he's like, oh, hey man. And we talk for a second.
He got normal again.
Yeah. And then he came into my work the next day and I was like, dude, what was that all about? He's like, we get trained to scowl because Canada's got a reputation for being kind of silly, you know?
No, I mean, I went through there one time with $70 in cash, credit cards, and like I had a 12-pack of beer that had like 10 beers left in. They're like, what do you got? I was like, 10 beer. You got any alcohol or tobacco? I'm like, yeah, I got like 10 beers and $70. And they're like, how long are you going to be here for? I'm like, I don't know. This is when I was coming back when I was living in Squamish. And it's like, I don't know, a month and a half. And they're like, you need to go back over the border, get us a bank statement that says you can be here for a month and a half. You have enough money to be here. And I'm like, instead of turn around, go to find a bank and get a bank statement and come back.
Are you fucking shitting me?
Yeah.
That's so lame.
But it's all good. I got over.
Yeah.
But then, but to go back to Hood.
Yep.
To even go farther back than the Daniel Frank days, like I saw Richards had mentioned it the other day, the first Fakey to Fakey 9 in the pipe.
Oh, wow.
I saw Gooch do it live on the Brushy Fish in the USSTC half pipe.
Fakey to Fakey 9.
It was in his ender part in Hard Hungry and the Homeless. And we were riding that pipe because that was the USSTC pipe. And like, if you watch that video, there's tons of that footy in there. And I got to like watch that live.
That's amazing.
So that tweaked my brain. Yeah. 100%. I was done for life after that week at Hood. Yeah. I came home and I went to the shop. I told this story in another podcast. Yeah. And I went to the shop and this shop called the Alt, Jay Erickson owns it. His kid, Joel, owns it now. I think it got torn up in the riots, but now it's back together. Yeah. And I was in there, I was like, what video should I get? And they're like, get this one. And I went in and put in the VCR tape and it was like my summer camp on review. And I was like, holy shit. And then that movie, because it was a jib movie and I was from Minnesota, it was all mini shred. Yeah. So all that stuff I could set up in my backyard or go to a resort and try. It wasn't Snowboarders in Exile. Right. It wasn't punting shit in Squaw Valley. It was like it was Roan Rogers. It was Dale Rayberg, Nate Cole, all those dudes from the Midwest that moved here. Russell. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. The Pat A. Yeah. 2 dudes that were on my couches last week. Yeah. So that was, like you said, those were the years too that snowboarding every day. The Diggers were pioneering snowboarding. The Diggers were straight up. The Diggers were the ones doing the new shit. Like Gooch was probably barely catching a check from Burton then, Yeah. And like it's like those were the formative years that built Mount Hood as well. Yeah. The year I was there, Camille Brichet and Bertrand were there, and Ray Lamb.
And it was like the
They had parts
invasion.
in hard hung helms too.
Yeah, yeah.
But that
On
was,
those.
you were there. They were there 2 years before that as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that would
yeah.
be 1990.
Yeah, they had those Santa Cruz boards with the towels with
The hooks.
with the hooks on them.
Yeah.
And they were ripping.
Those guys were diggers, man.
They were coaches. They were guest coaches.
Really? Because I remember hearing an interview saying that they were.
Oh, they might
they
might have had to dig because
I think you were coaching and digging then.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. Cause
they didn't have designated.
They
diggers.
hung out by themselves too, like because they all spoke another language, and I remember Reto put like a condom over his head and like blew it up with his nose. You know what I mean, like a big cone on his head, and everybody was laughing their fucking heads off. And
they
those
were the
guys
Euros
were
that
ripping.
somehow finagled their ways there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That was, I mean,
they were lurkers. I mean, Scotty Whitlake, like him and like Robbie Sell. They were like, I mean, they were lurkers. Like I remember,
like drying their shit.
Oh, dig to ride, and Scotty would hike up every day.
Yeah.
And
was he living in the parking lot?
In his car or whatever.
In his car, yeah.
I mean, he was also the valedictorian of Squaw Valley High School, so he wasn't dumb.
Yeah.
And then I remember like Tonino kicked him out one day or something.
Yeah.
And then he came back and he's like, "Hey man, because he was hiking up from the bottom every day to dig
every day,
ride.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Hey man, like, if I just come up and dig for you for like 2 weeks straight, can I ride again?" And he came up and dug for like a week and a half straight, and Tonino made him like dig.
Yeah.
It was either Tonino or Kanan or Davis. I forget who the head digger was.
Yeah.
And they're just like, let him dig for like a week, and we're just like, we can't put him through this torture. They're like, all right, dude, you can ride.
Wow.
Like, but he literally would just sit at the bottom, hike up, dig all day long, and then go home. Like,
just to prove
just
that
to
he
like
was,
prove that he's like, come on, man.
Well, what else has he got to do?
Nothing.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's like he's been shut out of his world.
Yeah. And he was another dude too. Like he'd come up there and just practice his 180s and switchback 3s and switchback 5s. He was like a Devin of Tahoe, you know. He never did more than that.
Yeah.
But he would just go huge.
Blaze told the story of meeting him up there, and that he was drying his gloves and socks every day over the fire
and then he quit that and just quit wearing socks.
It's fucking unbelievable, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, he was a good dude. Like we traveled for like 2 years, I think, you know.
Well, I just saw the other day that bike car movie. That was fun.
Oh,
yeah. He was hurt in that, I think. He still biked super far.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something going on where he doesn't snowboard anymore, but
what?
Yeah.
Whitlake?
Well, he does. He's just like he can't really snowboard aggressively. I think it's something with his back.
Can you get me in touch with him? I'd like to do it.
I mean, he's on Instagram with his wife, I think.
Yeah.
No problema or something. See what he says. Who knows?
Probably.
He could be down. But Blaze too, you know, he's another instrument. He was him and myself and a couple other people like to claim Hood pretty heavily because I think I've been there every summer since 1992.
No.
Except for like maybe 2.
Holy shit. That's a lot.
And then, I think I missed 2 summers. And that is only because Woodward is open here at Copper. So I'm like, it's actually almost just as fun, if not funner to ride here. So I'm not going to spend my money.
I see your edits, man. Your edits are...
it's so fun.
It looks so super
But then Bobby Meeks runs Wendell's now, so he invited me to be a coach. So I'll probably come back up next summer. And Blaze is still a coach up there. He's going to go back up.
Nice.
So we hold, Hood is in our hearts for sure.
Yeah.
Since day one.
Yeah. That's another movie. Yeah. Or you guys should do a movie.
We're going to make a Hood this summer.
Yeah.
This summer, if we're both coaching up there, it's over. We're making a full-length movie.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, that'd be sick.
We got footage just like the second summer I was up there. Blaze was up there as maybe even a dig ride, but he was just getting on kind of Santa Cruz, I think.
Yeah.
And it was when you do 180 nose butter.
Yeah.
And then 180 out. And that was like his trick. You go up on a ledge, 180 nose butter.
Yeah.
180 out in a rail. And I think his wife now, Jessica, was like worked in the kitchen or something.
Yeah.
And he's able to go on a hill. And I didn't even meet him that year, but then the next year he was our coach.
Oh, rad.
But so that was 93. The next year his coach was 94. But
super sick.
Yeah, it's good times there.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it already, even though winter hasn't started.
It is some of the most fun, predictable, like that pitch is just so perfect.
And even now they kind of open the mogul kicker.
Yeah.
You know, like they used to kind of keep that closed. Like the mogul skiers were very protective of
Oh,
their
yeah.
track. Now, like after one, it's a free for all over there.
On the mogul
Anybody
kicker.
can ride it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And that thing's super fun.
Yeah. I've taken my kids there. Fucking love Mount Hood.
It's a crazy experience. We're talking about this, trying to influence people to go to Hood, because when you're a high school kid and you're anywhere outside of anywhere you can see a volcano in the summer, you're not really snowboarding in the United States, except for Colorado, kind of. And then if you can go somewhere in July and you're like ripping 2,000 foot runs on a volcano, it's like going to a Lord of the Rings movie, you know?
Yeah, it's the best.
But real.
Yeah. Seeing that when I was 16 changed my life.
Yeah.
I was like, this is it. Yeah. This is it. And the people are real, right? Like I think
they're way too real. The people live in government camp.
Oh,
Mike Pugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in the Dirties. Chris Cole.
Yeah. I was referring to like seeing these people you've seen in movies ripping or in magazines.
Oh yeah, that's real too.
And then all of a sudden,
that's the whole
like,
thing about it too.
That's
what was cool is you can
these
go.
are normal people.
You can, like I said, I was a very shy kid, so when I'd see the people that I even had already met, I'd be like, I'd put my head down. I'm like, fuck, still not worthy. I'm not going to talk to those people. But it was cool to be able to go snowboard next to those. Like I rode, Zabo, freaking Nordwall. Like Zabo was a coach, Nordwall was a coach.
Nordwall.
Johnny B. That was the first summer.
Yeah.
Bob Gilly.
Yeah.
But then the other dudes showed up later on. But Andy Wolf.
Nice.
Like a bunch of dudes. And but you could ride next to them. It wasn't like they were in the movies.
Yeah.
You had that real personal experience with them, whether you talked to them or not. Like they weren't like...
for me it was like Scott Downey and Kevin Delaney.
Yeah.
That's like nutty old. Like it was like, holy shit.
Skaters kind of get that at Woodward now.
Really?
At we hit like Woodward summer camp. We usually have I don't know. Well, with COVID, I don't know what the hell's going on with summer camps anymore. But we used to. I mean, we had like Jordan Hoffert show up, like
no way.
Taylor DeClung, like Kevin Romar, like David Reyes, like these like dudes that put out videos on Thrasher.
Yeah.
Would show up for the week to skate with the kids.
Yeah.
And they would just come skate. They wouldn't coach them, but we'd go to skate parks all day long because I was a skate coach at Woodward.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like these superhero skaters would skate with these 10 kids for the week, and that would change their life. And that's what I saw as summer camp too. Like you're like it. And what I tell everybody, I don't know super involved with Woodward camp anymore, even though I was a lot.
Yeah.
But you're like that experience of that kid's summer camp will change their life forever, and it could be good or bad, and we're here to make it good.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, I'd like to see Woodward's.
It's pretty cool.
I like the concept. I'm into it. I can see where it's going to, and
it's going to be. I mean, funding is a thing, But this summer camp is sold out. This summer camp, because of the thing we don't like to talk about, everybody moved to resort towns,
right?
And it was a little different because it was a bunch of snowplowy kids, but it's still good to get them up there.
Yeah.
Where when we went there, it was like we were there because we were passionate about snowboarding.
Oh, hell yeah.
And everybody was there because they were passionate about snowboarding.
You
didn't have the parent that was dropping their kid off at summer camp.
Everybody was there because they lived and breathed.
Yeah, if your parent sends you there, it's hard for the coaches and to really motivate them to try to ride. But
yeah,
that's where like ski instructors come in because they're good at like that.
Sure, man.
It's not hard to coach a kid that's passionate about snowboarding. You're like, yo, let's talk about snowboarding.
Let's go. Yeah.
They're like, cool. I'd love to talk about snowboarding all day. It's not going to be hard.
I remember seeing the guys at High Cascade. There was a coach who's my age, and he hits the jump, does a 5, and I was like, oh, that was pretty impressive. And then he's at the bottom, and he's just going, do not speed check. He's yelling up at the kids, don't speed check. And the kids are just, going so slow. They're just riding up on it. And he's pissed off. He's shaking his head going, none of these kids want to be here. Like they're going, when can we go back inside? And he's like, oh my God, this is like our first run. We have to do at least 10 runs. And then the kids are like, 5 runs. And he's like, 7 runs.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I swear to God. It was like...
I mean, that was me when I was a coach. I'd be looking at the clock every time we were out. Like,
yeah.
How many more runs we got? I don't think I'm in the right job. But
Fucking
it's doing
job.
fun. But
job.
It's cool, though. I mean, My first summer was when nose bonking was the cool thing.
Oh, nice.
Like, you ever remember that ollie of Quinn Sandvall doing a switch tail grab in a nitro ad over a rock? So Quinn lives down in Boulder, and I was talking to him about it a couple of years ago.
I got to get in touch with Quinn. Can you get me in touch with him?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
On Instagram, I can get in touch with you. I can try to reach out.
Yeah, perfect.
I mean, Trent Bush probably knows how to get in touch with him, too.
Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to talk to Trent while I'm here.
Yeah, Trent just started Artelect. It's like a underlayer company. Architect or something like that.
I fucking need new underwear.
But yeah, he lives down in Boulder. I saw him the other day.
Yeah.
But it was like jibbing rocks. So like they were like, let's just go ride over rocks and nose bonk them all day. And I'm like, I'm gonna ruin my snowboard. I'm like, the only snowboard I got. We spent the whole week riding over rocks. I'm like, I ruined my snowboard. I'm like, I don't know. Like, that doesn't really seem like the right thing to do, but that's what we did. Like, every rock at Hood that summer had P-Tex all over it.
I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. They still do, kind of.
Oh,
right?
they do, but like your coach is not running you through your whole crew. All right, every kid, all this rock, and try to nose bonk it, smash your nose on the rock.
Yeah.
You're like, I think parents would get pissed at you now to do that.
Of course they would.
They're like, you sent my kid
You're
back with
wrecking
a
their
broken
gear.
snowboard.
Yeah, you're wrecking their gear.
Like, rails are acceptable because all it really does is dull your edges if you don't ding it.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
That is nuts, dude. What a fucking life.
Hood's the shit.
Yeah. All right, let's pack this up. We're gonna go snowboarding
that was
in the
long.
morning.
We did like an hour on Hood, so we'll end up with that.
Yeah, love you, Hood.
Yeah, good. That was a good one. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
brought back some memories.
Yeah, thanks.
Randomly
thanks,
talked about shit the whole time.
Yeah, basically.
Awesome.
All right, peace. FNRad shoutouts this week to Chad Otterstrom and his dogs. Thanks for letting me stay at your place. Thanks for taking me up hiking just outside of Brack and taking the time to talk snowboarding for the show. Big thanks to all the listeners who reach out in the real world and online. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Plus, if you're feeling it, leave a review. It helps like-minded people find the show. And be sure to come back next week for another episode of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast, presented by Vans and brought to you by SIA Productions.